check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Okay, I think it's good. I just dropped the link. Um, but yeah, man, we was having the discussion over there on Rogers panel. You know, a lot of stuff gonna be going on. G man, I see you keep coming up and dropping. Yeah, something wrong with the connection because it keeps dropping you down. Might be a signal. But what's going on to everybody in the building that showed up, stepped in, had this conversation. Turn on this AC. Yeah, so for everybody coming in, you know, we're gonna have a conversation. Yeah, he hung up. But yeah, man, we're gonna have this conversation, you know, about lo and behold, people getting put out, people staying, people leaving. The biggest issue about all this stuff, man, I mean, we just got to come to the realization when it come down to everybody, you know, everybody's gonna suffer from this. It's not gonna be just no one group of people or anything else. Doing a lot of guys, they pretty much wasted the time, you know, dealing with the raunchiest of women. Same thing with the women as well. Like I said, from my standpoint, the community has an issue, and well, work don't get no better for you. But the community has an issue at hand, and pretty much with the issue being the way it is, men just have to come to the table, man. When it boils down to it, the men actually build a community. We talk about we're the builders, we're the providers. So to an extent, if the women don't want to go up under the leadership of the builders, guess what? They don't get the foundation. You know. Okay. Dang, keep dropping. Speak up. All right. Let me check this mic. Hey, why you keep dropping? Think it's your connection. Oh, dang, you dropped again when I tried to add you. There you go. Okay, you good now? Hey, you keep dropping. I think you in the back. I can't pull you up actually. G man. I don't know if it's your connection. But try to drop the link again and see will that work. Maybe it's the link. Yep. Same issue. But like I'm saying, man, as far as us building the community, getting stuff together, you know, It start with the men. We make the rules of engagement for the women to get along, and for the most part, we got to be there to implement the system in order. You know, because the main thing, where everything is going down the way it's going down, you know, some men just pretty much we've let the women pull rank and let them have their little fun. But now stuff is going down. It's to the point where technically, if they don't want to listen to us, let them go. You know, a lot of men have done it in numbers. We've gotten together, you know, well, pretty much they have gotten together and just don't deal with the women. So the women, they have to have they got a choice in the matter. I think that's what the whole feminist movement was about, choice, right? So they got a choice to either come back to the table, work it out with the men, or choose to go on that island by themselves. You know, I don't understand why we have so many conversations about this topic because, for one, they don't want to go back to the old days. They don't want to go back to how things were. They don't want to go back to having to depend on the man. So for the ones that don't want to depend on the man, ones that don't want to deal with men, let them be. Let them live they best life, which they deem is best life. I'm not gonna save nobody who don't want to be saved. Project Pack, all the songs. Don't save if she don't want to be saved. That's the point. If they don't want to be saved, you leave them alone. The ones that want to be saved when the time is right, they're gonna try to come back, and it might be too late. I mean, because generally there's somebody for everybody, and the suckers they have those women, you know, on speed dial. They got those women to where they can deal with them the way they want to deal with them. That's them, you know. And the issue come down, that's just what it is. That's how they gonna deal with those women. Yeah, I think. Let me try to drop again because I don't know if you can come back up. I know you kept trying to come up, Jer, which I don't know. It might be your connection, but like I said, man, in the community with the guys, we have to go ahead and set that standard on building. You know, they gonna continue. The women are gonna continue doing what they do. You know, whether the men like it or not. So let them continue doing what they doing, and we supposed to be doing what we do. Build. You know, those women, majority of those women know when the times get hard, they're gonna try to find a sucker to take care of them. What man has that standard to when times get hard, you're gonna be looking for a woman to take care of you? I mean, if most of these guys on the panels and on the shows do that, then so be it. Let them do their thing, But when it come down to it, hey, like I said, the men in the community, if we choose to go out here, marry the women, that's the standard of choice. A lot of guys, you got options out here, man. Why do you put yourself in a situation where you don't have to? You know, dealing with these women who want to act crazy, you don't have to do that. Go get you some money. Same thing with these crazy women. There's a lot of good women out here. That's what do because they act like they don't got options and no choice. That's your point. You don't want to work hard. You don't want a good man because you know how do you think most women get chosen? They're in the vicinity of a good man. They go to fundraisers. Go to places where men are doing charitable work. You know, they're not only just worried about themselves, they're worried about the environment and everybody else. The situation at hand. I feel sorry for a lot of the people that are going to be losing their living situation, but at the same time, a lot of them cause it on themselves. How can me as a married man go take care of another woman and take food out my kid's mouth, even in a situation where kids are involved? I hate it for them. I was in a situation like that when I was a young guy. You know, there were times where my mom didn't have the proper necessities for us, but she made it work. You know, she did what she had to do. When it come down to it, a lot of these parents got to just go ahead and tough it up, do what they got to do. That's for one. They put those kids in that predicament. You know, I always say that the kids never asked to be born. The least we can do is just take care of them. You know, and that goes across the board amongst all kids. You know, I don't care what race you are or anything. You know, you didn't ask to come here. You wasn't down there. You know, in the in your dad's sack or down in your mom's tubes, waiting. No, saying pick me, pick me, pick me. No, that's not how that situation happened. So when it came down to it, what was the option? You know, they were messing around. They made crazy decisions. Ultimately, you're coming in paying the cost. You know, when your when your dad can't see you because your mom wants you to still take care of her and y'all not together. I don't understand female in that logic. You want me to take care of you and I'm not with you anymore. We're not together. You know, we broke up, bad terms. You know, even if we broke up on good terms, I can see me being a little more, steady and righteous with you, helping you out here and there. But to the extent where you literally got on my nerves, tried to put me on child support and spite me, but then called me, asked me for extra money. Like I say, I it's like what I'm literally gonna record without my wife knowing, so y'all can hear us talk about these conversations. I tell my wife all the time, I'm not no bum dude. So pretty much when it comes down to it, depending on how we get a divorce, if you need a little money, I'll help you out. But the majority, since you left, you know, you're gonna have to fend for yourself. And to the position of me leaving, it's gonna be a situation where I just couldn't take it. Because I'm not leaving just to be leaving, I mean, contrary to what Roger was saying, for the most part, marriage is supposed to be for a lifetime. Set up that engagement where you and that woman can benefit over time, not just for this one session, not for, a little bit of time of us just staying together. I'll be with you for a couple of months and things are going to be okay. No, the marriage together is going to be for a lifetime. Okay, I see y'all in the back. What's going on, fellas?
What it do, man? What it do?
What's going on? Yeah, man, because this is a big issue of mine that I keep having with these dudes, man. I don't know why and Jared can't come up. Keep dropping them back down. But like me and Kane the guy I was talking about. I had a stream one time before where I was basically saying, as far as the community, who needs to change for the community to work, you know? And we both agreed it was the men. Because once as I always say, the females they're gonna be who they are. They only gonna change when they want to change and it's beneficial for them. But by then it might be too late. But as far as the dudes, if we all get together, like and most guys are doing now, not dealing with a lot of women. Most guys are doing now that trying to get their stuff together on a certain level. It's going to benefit us more. You got the floor.
Well, um, one of the points I was making on Ryder's show is we gonna really, we at a point where we really gonna test this whole theory out because, like I said on his show, when you backstage, getting banged out by Art Kelly or somebody else or a rapper, you know, The Baby or 21 Savage or somebody like this at a concert, being a whole in is fun. But there was a video of King of Diamonds years ago where they had some young chicks, man, who were talking about their experiences selling ass to some old white dudes, and it wasn't fun. And see, that's when you really gonna see if they really about that whole life. Cause see, under the prison system now, their whole life is subsidized by the government. So they get to get skeeted in by dudes they really like. Not as the best men for them, but men they really like. Or because they know there's a financial incentive there, they could care less. But when you really have to be on some whole shit and you got to get banged out by dudes you really don't want to get banged out by for survival, we're going to see how much you really like it. Then the reality sets in. See, they want to have the slut walks to thumb their noses at men and authority because that's all that is. It's just they're thumbing their noses at authority. And authority is under the purview of men. Men enforce authority. So they're basically saying we will rather be sluts than be wives in families. Okay, cool. But that same chick, Amber Rose, that was a part of that slow walk, she was one of them same hoes crying about not having no man too. See, they don't realize how much our presence validates their existence. That's why they always, the same women who are constantly complaining about it ain't no men are the ones always that they don't need a man are the ones who are always crying about where the men at. Smart women get a man and get out the game. They want to be into the game until it's too late to actually find a quality man because they've been hot from penis to penis for years. Now they can't get one. So that's when we really gonna see the rubber where the rubber meets the road because I tell women all the time, man, the thing that you don't want the most is when you're in a position when you ain't got no money is meeting a man with a lot of money and low moral standards because he will have you doing all types of stuff for that money.
Hey, you heard about those trips to Dubai? A lot of
Yeah.
them women be taking.
Yep.
They ain't. They're not fun. Stories are rampant about that. And like I keep trying to explain to them, you know, just like you're saying, it's a choice in the matter. When it come down to it, when you don't have options, man, that's a hard pill to swallow with no options.
Right. Right. Because see, they don't what they don't understand is that we're not built like them. I have to constantly tell women all the time, like the way you think is only a crack of the world. As men, we have to see the whole picture to be able to tackle it, to be able to subdue it and conquer it. We can't afford to see life based on our feeling. We have to see life based on our productivity. Because when we look at life through our productivity, that actually helps the entire group. Them seeing the world only through their female lens only helps them. It doesn't help men. It doesn't help children. This is why men lead the family because we have to see things through the lens for what everybody needs. And women do need a captain of their ship. That's what a man is. He's a captain of the ship. They're the vessel, the man is the captain. Without a captain of the ship, guess what? The ship is going to go in all types of directions. And it's never going to really get to a destination like that. It's going to get shipwrecked or something's going to happen. You need a captain to be able to steer you through the storms, which is the experiences in life that we're all going to go through. They don't take into consideration things like having a death in the family, like losing your parent, for example. Yeah, you might love your mom and all that, but one day your mom is going to leave. Now, you don't know when that day is going to come. When she leaves you, if you brought up in a single mom environment, what you going to do? You know what I'm saying? People like me and you, we know what it's like to lose parents. You know what I'm saying? We know that experience. That shit ain't no easy experience. But you gotta figure that shit out. You know what I'm saying? You gotta figure it out. And if you're a woman out here by yourself trying to figure out life, because when you lose your parents, I mean that you really are grown. You really grown. Because now it's all on you. So these females don't understand like these are natural occurrences in life that's gonna happen. Tragedy is gonna strike. Who you got in your corner, man, when those tragedies happen, bad things happen. You know, this is not life is not meant to be walked alone like that. You know what I'm saying? This is why men don't say we've never had a movement where men was just like, I don't need no woman. We'll say we don't need no dumbass women, but we don't say we don't need women. We never operated with that mentality, and we do more than women do. Our responsibility is greater, and we don't even say that. Their responsibility ain't shit compared to what ours is, and they really think that they don't need men like that until you know the reality of something like a pandemic hits, and then you realize, like, or a snowstorm happens, like what we experienced in Texas some months ago, and then you have women, single moms with their children, dying in the car of monoxide poisoning because they don't have the sense to know you can't sit in the car that's closed with windows and go to sleep because you'll die. Just like Kevin showed on his show, where this one chick was talking about, hey, I'm gonna just go over here to the lake and get some water. He was like, yeah, you're gonna die because you can't drink that water. Because they don't know the environment. They don't understand what the environment really is because it's never been their job to conquer the environment. It's always been our job. These silly notions that they have in their mind, they can only have these notions in an environment that men have already conquered.
Yeah. I mean the craziness, man, that one video I seen with Kevin and the lady, and he was basically saying if a robber breaks in the house, you're supposed to be behind the husband. She's like, no, I'm gonna be beside my man. And he's like, well, that's not your place. And she was like, what do you mean? It's almost like she want to help her man beat up a robber. And I said this early in the video I had. I said, now, if somebody break in the house, if I push my wife back and go after the guy, that's cue for her to run and get the kids, or just you get out. Because I'm going to have to defend this guy until you get out. I don't know if he's got a gun. I don't know if he's got a knife. Nine
Mhm.
times out of 10, somebody's breaking in the house. They know that something's going to happen to them. So they got something to protect them. Even a person coming in with a bat has a slight advantage over me, considering if I don't know any skills. You know, you could be a guy like for instance, like the Spider-Man movie, how he had all that power, but he easily could have broke the man down, but he didn't do it. You know,
Mhm.
to that extent. You don't know what somebody. You had to look at this little frail guy. You don't know this guy's a fifth degree black belt, or a bare knuckle boxing champion. You don't
Right.
know. So to the point, you think you breaking in somebody's house, you think you have an advantage because, yeah, you got a bat or something. They had a guy in Texas, old guy, 70, I think it was like 70 years old or something. He was a Golden Glove boxing champ. Little knucklehead, 19-year-old or something, broke in his house, 20-something-year-old broke in his house. Man, he beat the brakes off that guy. I'm talking about the guy, and then all he had was a knife. He knew it was an older guy staying there, so that means he's pretty much been watching the guy for a minute, see
Yeah,
how the guy
he let his
move.
guard down.
Yeah, scoping. Yeah, and so the guy, he probably was like, I'm old, ain't nobody gonna mess with me. This a good neighborhood. Man, that little young boy tried to come in there, man. Beat the brakes off of him, man. It's
That's
like when it come down to that point, a lot of people don't understand. Like, you literally don't know what you're getting yourself into. And a lot of women, they come with this whole premise of, they can survive, they can do this, they can do that. They just don't know what they're getting themselves into. And as men, we try to help them out. That's why my mentality is, man, I'm thinking about my wife and my kids first. The extended family, everybody else. Like, I'm sorry, like my mom probably was the only one I would consider thinking, but she's passed. So I mean, I'm kind of cold hearted right now. If people can take it for what it is, but when when the situation hits the fan, like I said, the only person I'm gonna worry about more or less is my auntie because she's the eldest in the family. Other than that, like everybody else, they got to get it out the mud. I got a cousin. Me and him already talked about. He has a little stream in his backyard. He got a couple of deers that go through there, and pretty much he said if situation happen, take your deep freezer, flip it on the back of your truck, throw your
Mhm.
trailer, whatever, just come stake out over here. He said between me and you, we got enough to make some stuff work. I talked to another friend. He said the same thing. I said, well, we all got to come to one designated area and go from there. But the point of it is, you looking for places with resources. See, just like G was saying, a lot of people don't look at that stuff, man. Just hunting. My favorite thing to look at is them I think it's like India and stuff like that. It's a white guy in America that does it. It's called like that. I forgot the name. It's called Tech something, where they be building them huts out of clay and just mud,
Mhm.
and they be building all that stuff. Man, I watch them all the time. I watch
Yeah, I love that
Survivor,
shit.
Alone, like that one show Alone, where you get like 36 items. You got to be out Alaska. They might sometimes do it in just any other little state, but the
Mhm.
whole majority thing is you got to survive, and the
Yep.
person who survives the longest, they get like $500,000. You know,
I
a
watched
lot of that stuff, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I watched this one prepper show. It was actually Doomsday Preppers actually. And the white girl, she knew a lot of stuff, man. I mean, she was doing all type of stuff. What kind of stuff you can have for this and that, help you survive. And, apocalypse came, but she came back and she ultimately said she was like, at the end of the day, I have to be in a very secure position because, you know, I will be considered an easy target, because situations like that happen, it get real primitive and men can just view me as just sexual conquest, man. And then, after that, man, them dudes could turn around and just offer. And this was a white chick. So you talking about some chicks, man, like again, man, you talking about some chicks who are really not prepared. And this is why I say like welfare just created such an artificial environment in terms of the thought process of women because they are truly disconnected. They are truly disconnected from the very men who brings them the comforts that they have. They are completely disconnected. When they built those projects, they were completely disconnected from the men who were the ones historically was putting them in houses. I said this even before. Like I was like, before projects were made available to black women, where was they staying? They were staying in houses black men built. They weren't living on the street. They was living in houses that black men built. People act like they just was out there just struggling. Like, yeah, yeah, there was people that struggled. There was white people who were struggling during certain times. White women were the first ones who got welfare. But your daughter, your granddaughter, your great granddaughter, y'all ain't supposed to be 4 generations straight of that shit. You're supposed to get yourself to a place where you can get self-sufficient and then you get off. You don't use welfare as a piggy bank. Now, when you get in environments where it's like, all right, some real stuff has happened because all it takes is change in the grid. The lights go out, power grid go out. That's what happened here in Texas. The power surge happened. According to them, it froze, stuff happened. If you was in the wrong environment, man, you possibly died. We had some deaths here. We had kids that died. That was it. Ain't no coming back from that. You know what I'm saying? You in the wrong county. Man, it's no joke. You know what I'm saying? Like it was hard to get around, man. Whole ground just covered in ice. can't even use your damn car. So, they really have no clue because all they thinking about is painted toenails and fingernails and fake ass eyelashes. This is as far as their mind is going. Their minds is going is eating, sleeping, shitting, and getting some nails done. That's it. That's it. Good luck with that shit. If that's your mentality as a woman, and then you got that mentality, and you saying you don't need a man, man, you a prime target out here. You are a prime target. Just having a man around you consistently. I don't give a damn if it's just on some boyfriend shit. That is enough to keep man the wolves at bay from man looking at you as a target. Just having a man. Men will be like, okay, she got a dude over there. Man, that nigga might be packing some shit over there. Nah, I ain't gonna mess with him over there. But that single woman over there with them kids too by herself. Oh yeah, she's slim. She's slim picking. She prime picking right there. And they'll go specifically at that female. So they don't really have no clue, man. Really, man, what's really at stake out here, which ultimately informs men to take a step back from these types of females, man, and let them be the independent women they have been telling us they have been with for decades. Let them really truly see what being independent really means.
I I had a partner by the Chico, older cat. He was dealing with this chick. Actually, just met her. Say she's real. Cool chick. Real nice. That's why he started hollering at her. Man, he fooled around after 5 days of messing with her. She was like, "Come over to the crib. Let's have some drinks." So pretty much, he came with the intent of just kicking it because, within the first couple of days, she just say she want to be more social and get to know him. So I guess she was more comfortable with him. That's why she let him come to the house.
Mhm.
So he came to the house and all, and and he kept feeling something over him. Come to find out, somebody broke in the house and literally the whole thing down. He had a he called
She, you Borging. You Borging.
They
Still kind of Borging.
yeah, it's
Okay, now I can hear you.
yeah, out here in this country, man. But yeah, the dude, so dude ended up thought that what I'm saying, that was her boyfriend or something, and he got like pissed, man. He was mad, like dude standing over him, and dude had a knife in his hand, so he thought he was gonna get stabbed up, and the dude seen him, looked at the woman, looked at him, took off. Luckily, they caught him down the street, and the people in the community, they heard the noises and stuff, and just took off because he was shocked, like he didn't know what was going on. And next thing you know, the craziness that happened, it was the dude that worked at the oil place. She went to like an oil change place,
Mhm.
and she
Can't hear you, she.
yeah, that's crazy.
You said he. What was that last part? You kind of went out.
Yeah, that just kicked me off my own stream. But basically, he went to get the oil change. Next thing you know, the freaking dude at the oil place took her key, went to lunch, and got a copy of the key. Come to find
Damn.
out, this guy had already hit up like 7 women, and they didn't even know how he was doing it. And then once they found out about that situation, they connected it. All of them, every woman that went there and got their oil change, he was hitting them up.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So, I mean,
Wow.
that's just a word of advice to all the women, people in their family, even my wife, man. Anytime my wife go get the oil change, I got those little I got those little clips, like the little mountain climbing clips that you use. But you know they ain't used for mountain climbing. They just clip though. That I clip her keys and then I clip the car keys to it. And I always tell her, when you go get the oil change, make sure you take your key off and give them the car key, not the house keys and everything else.
Right.
Because, you know, a lot of women they get color coded keys or they do certain things and know because men like me, I just know I put my house key next to one of my truck keys. I got another key that go to another house next to another car key, and then I might have a red tag on something for that. But to the point, somebody would literally have to copy a whole bunch of keys to find out which one of them is my house key.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, I
Yeah.
got a lot of lock keys and everything, but that chick, man, she was lucky he was there because she was gonna be number 8.
She gonna be number 8. Yep, sure was.
Yeah, dude wasn't playing, man. He was knocking them down, and they never knew. And I'm like, that's crazy on bruh for doing that. But at the same time, it's like, look at the carelessness. Just
Carelessness,
just
yeah, man.
it's not even thinking that something like that had happened to you.
Hmm.
You know,
We
and with that,
we naturally think like that. I mean, even if you getting something like cable installed or where people got to come in the house, man, you shouldn't even let these mother even see what your woman look like. She need to be in a room, in a closet somewhere until he done. It could be just all it takes is for a dude to get a look of the chick. You know what I'm saying? They could just get a look of a chick. Women don't even understand this. Like, you don't even the last thing you want to do to know is that you a single woman at home by yourself and he coming to do some work at your house, plumbing, some stuff like that, and you by yourself and you ain't got no protection. Man, and he thinking anything negatively, man, you are a prime target. You thinking this dude, oh, he's just a cable guy. Yeah, this fool crazy as hell too. He crazy. And many of these types of people, man, get access to your homes easily. You know what I'm saying? But when they know it's a man, they ain't trying to come up through there. They just know. You know what I'm saying? They just know. And these women don't even understand it. This is why a lot of these pedo type dudes, their biggest targets are single moms. Those are the ones they go for. You know what I'm saying? They go for these types of women who ain't got no men around. So they don't even understand. Like when they rejecting these fathers and all of these types of things, even if them and the father are not together, like you still want him to be in their because men who ain't got no good intentions, if they know that there's a male presence around, they're least likely to try to come in that type of vein. They're gonna go for an easy kill. It's just like in nature. Man, the lions, they don't try to kill the fastest buffalo. They get the herd to start running, so the slowest one will be behind. And when that slowest one lags behind, that's the one they kill for food. They don't go for the strongest, fastest one. You know what I'm saying? Because they can get injured, but they go for the weakest one. They go for the weakest one, and that's the one they devour. And many of these females out here, the single mom by themselves, they're the weakest ones. They're the easier targets out here, and they don't even understand that mindset because protection is not their worldview. Protection is our worldview. We're going to think about all the dangerous stuff that can happen, like you was talking about with the keys and stuff like that. We think about stuff like that because we know the capacity of a man who is thinking wrong like that. He can do damage to you as a woman when you by yourself.
yeah. And then I mean, that's just like my wife. She only used like I just started adding keys to her key ring because she would only have a house key and a car key. That's it. And I would get on her so bad, I would stay on her toes about that stuff, man, because I'm like, you don't know what's gonna happen to you. Even as my cousin, I used to go over to her house just so men can see, dudes coming in and out every once in a while. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and dudes, they hit you, what I'm saying, what's going on, bro? How you doing? How you like your house? Try to figure out if you stay there or not.
Mm-hmm.
They hold little conversations. Then when you get to know them, they'll let you pretty much out have y'all conversations. But you know, when you least most women just walking through don't see nothing. don't know what's going on. I remember one time I was kicking it with my homeboy, and I seen a dude trying to get some weed, and basically he's like, who got some weed around there? And the dude was like, this dude over here, I know his partner got some. I literally seen the guy scratch his scratch his pants, and like it was a gun in his boot. So I told the guy like, hey man, y'all need to watch them dudes. Dude got a gun in his boot. So if y'all gonna mess with him like that, you need to watch out. And he pretty much was ready for him. But women, and they see something, they not paying attention to little things, especially the
No.
people you don't know. It's obvious. If I don't know somebody, man, if I meet somebody for the first time or something like that, I always got my guard up,
Yeah,
checking and looking at everything.
right. Me
You
too.
know, even looking at the scene when I go somewhere, I
Yeah,
look at where I'm at, who I'm around. Going to the gas station. That's how all the time you get more females getting their cars robbed than dudes.
right. I'm the same way. I've actually stopped dealing with females who who would just get out the car without allowing me to open up their door for them because I had to tell them like when I open your door, it's not just me being on some gentleman type stuff. I'm scoping the scene to make sure it's safe for you to get out. I'm making sure it's safe. Because if I get out and I look around and I don't like the look or the vibe of a place, I'm getting my ass back in that car. I'm like, hey, we out of here.
Yeah,
We out of here. So they don't even understand something. I mean, I literally have stopped dealing with black females because of me not them not allowing me to open up the doors. I'm like, because now you put my life in jeopardy because if something happened, you expecting me to just come to your defense, and I'm like, it'd have been easy if you would just stayed your ass in the car so I can get up in this money. We get up out of here. So again, like they just don't understand how dangerous the world really is. We had to go out here and kill all types of wild animals to be able to build these type of communities or houses is safe. The average person ain't walking outside feeling that a wild ass lion or tiger is going to attack them. Why? Because man, we done civilized it to the point where we feel that safe. Although we do have sightings in neighborhoods of bears and shit like that, coyotes from time to time, but in general, nobody really has that kind of fear like that. So, but we did the dangerous shit. You know what I'm saying? We had to lure people. You know what I mean? Lure animals, trap them, and kill them. And sometimes in the process, men got killed trying to kill them. So we do all that dangerous, really truly dangerous type shit. You know what I'm saying? To really civilize the environment so these women can be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Only for them to say, "No, I don't want to be at home and cook good food while you come home because you're going out there doing that hard work. I'm gonna go out here and do this work that you do because I want to be a man too." You don't really want to be a man, chick. Being a man is not going into an office sitting down typing. That is not manhood. You know what I'm saying? So when shit hit the fan, when some stuff really hit the fan, man, on some like when nature strikes, because ain't nobody got no control over that. Nature strike, and you got to deal with the element. Even when it comes to development out here, if men don't cut the grass and keep the landscape good, guess what it's going to turn into? It's going to turn into a jungle because that's the natural environment, and women ain't prepared for that type of environment like that. Not to wield it towards their own strength capacity because they don't have the strength capacity to make the environment conform to them. We as men, we can impose our will on the environment and make it conform to us. And they don't even really truly understand that until they get hit upside the head, like with a pandemic, for example, or a flood that happens in, Houston or snowstorm that happened here and stuff like that. Then the reality sets in like, oh shit, the men, I do need one of those.
yeah. I mean, that's just like women that they have kids. Like I was telling my wife, I was like, I'm not trying to brag on that. I'm like, but shoot, when you got with me, like basically, your life is a whole lot better. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and And she was like, "Yeah, you right." I was like, "Cause for one, you got two incomes instead of one, and then for two, you know, we can work with stuff and work together to build bigger things." You know, and my wife, she like I always mess with her. I always call her the thought ways, and I always mess with her, tell her that because I'm like, it's not even just thought ways. I just say that to be funny, but when it come down to it, I just let her know a lot of women that dress a certain way or act a certain way, you can't get mad at the results of the men that come your way. You know, you want to be this, worthy queen, but then you dressing like, the lady of the night. You know, because I was talking with one guy. He was explaining to me that he said this chick, well, these two chicks were talking, and they told him like basically like, what do you expect to look at them as? One of them, she had on like a little a shirt, spandex, going to work out. The other girl, she had a sports bra on with some double double D's and some shorts on. She had big old thighs, you know, got a little butt, but mostly thighs and stuff sticking out. And she like men always hit on her, but the lady that just have on the regular little sports, I mean just regular little shirt and spandex. The guys are giving her the looks because she had a nice body, but the other girl she was more revealing. And you know when you look that way, you attract so many people that want that. So you can't get mad you know, at guys for coming at you a certain way. You be like, oh well, why can't I dress like this? Or I think somebody just tried to come up and oh, that's Gerald again. Yeah, but when it come down to it,
Mhm.
they gotta come to the realization, how you gonna get a husband dressing with that image? Like who really wants I mean, it's cool. Most guys have that, I want a freak in the sheet, a lady with a freak in the sheet type of mindset. But if she looks like a freak and acts like a freak, that's not something you generally gonna take home to mom, you
Nah,
know.
nah.
And a lot of women don't know that. I guess. I mean, because I'm under the impression they don't.
I was watching this. I was watching this. I think it was National Geographic. Man, I was watching a clip of it on YouTube some years ago, and it was a whole herd of them buffalo just running in a particular direction. I mean, it was, and they big too. These things are massive, man. Like a lion gets themselves in a precarious position, man. That buffalo can kill that lion. They strong, but they wanted to hunt. They was trying to eat. So the female lion was just sitting there waiting, 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 waiting. Man, that male lion, man, I mean, the way it leaped, I mean, these things was coming full speed. Man, that damn male lion leaped at that damn buffalo and took it down. Boom! I said, and when I saw that video, I said, this is the difference between men and women. That's the difference. Even though female lions do actually the hunting most of the time because they're faster, so they hunt in groups. But in that particular moment, the male lion hunted, and when he hit that target, man, it was like a bullet hitting that shit. I mean, he took that big ass buffalo down, and that was it. And that's the difference. Like they do not understand male strength, and the capacity to inflict violence. I mean, they just, even though we done had all type of serial killers out here who have literally hunted women, it's like they just still just have this real silly idea in their mind, like you really want to go out here in this world and approach men like you equal to them. You really don't have any comprehension, really, because even with all the laws on the books and all the time you can get, and even the threat of capital punishment, that shit still don't stop certain men from going on a kill. It still don't stop. Like you not what you think you are. You better get a man around you that people see that know, like, if there is any wrong done to you, they gonna have to answer to him. They're gonna have to answer to him. And men know when you gotta answer to another man, especially when you when you disrespect their women, that's a whole different kind of war you don't want. It's a whole different kind of war you don't want. So these women really, they really better understand what kind of position they really in, because they thinking of the world in terms of feelings and what they want. That ain't what the world is. I mean,
Yeah,
women get caught up in men's battle all the time. I mean, they're draw strikes, men hit women all the time in the world. Like, oh well, the men on your side, they on the wrong side today, and you are too. So they can't they be foolish, man, to take men's presence for granted, man, because our presence is what keeps other groups of men from other countries, especially from the gates. If it ain't us guarding the gate, man, they coming through that gate and they taking all the women they can get.
yeah. 'Cause I seen a I seen a woman slap a man and make him pass out. But the only catch was the guy was drunk. Now, if that man would have been sober, I'm talking about he wasn't drinking to where he had like two or three or something like that. You can tell this guy literally was drunk. When he fell, like just off of one slap, he was gone, passed out, you know. And she kind of commended herself, like, yeah, yeah, I did that. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm literally looking at the man being drunk. Now, if the guy comes up and want to fight her again and he not drunk, she got a problem on her hand because she's gonna be looking like a fool when she's swinging, and that number one punch don't, or that number one slap don't work again because this guy not drunk. His equilibrium is not off, and
Right.
he hauls off and slap her back, and she yells, "Oh, oh, no, no!" All that stuff come out that she a female. But
Mm-hmm.
before, you was bold, and like when it come down to it, I don't understand a lot of women want to take that position to fight men. Like, you know, even as men, to a certain extent, I'm not just gonna pummel over no woman like that, man. I mean, because I know what I can do to her. I know the situation easy to the point where, I can literally put her in a hospital.
Man, you
But
could break
why?
if you draw back on a woman with your full might and you hit her with a Tyson blow, man, you could break that woman's jaw.
Yeah. And I literally seen it when, you know, situations happen like that. It was
Yeah,
it
man.
was I seen a dude, I'm up there on a bus. I was on a tailgate trip. And the dude been drinking. The women come over there. I mean, this woman come over there, and I don't know what she was doing to him, but all I know, I heard him say, "You better get on with that stupid stuff." And she mushed him in the face. Both of them been drinking now, but she mushed him in the face.
Mm.
Man, that dude hit her with an uppercut. Man, knocked her about 3 seats back, and she was holding that jaw. She was like, and I'm like, dang, I jumped up. And I'm like, hey, bro, like, what happened? And the dude he was with, who I was with, he was like, hey, man, don't get involved. That's their business. But I'm like, hold on. I'm like, I don't know what happened, but I'm just trying to make sure he don't hit her no more. That's my thing. Like, I'm trying to break it up. And he like, nah, man, don't get into that, because I'm like, at the same time, dude, you going to jail if she called the police on you. I mean, you ready to go to jail, cool. Because 9 times out of 10, that's what she gonna do. I'm trying to, just de-escalate the situation. And he like, man, just don't get involved in it. I'm like, nah, like I understand her situation and his, but I'm just like, I'm here. I'm not gonna let no dude just beat on no woman like that. You know. Now, if anything, if I know the situation at hand, and people like, hey man, she did this, she did that to me, I'm gonna step back because as a woman, you can't be running up on a man like I seen a woman spit in a man's face, and then when he jawed her, why you hit me? Spit in my face. That's the most disrespectful thing you could ever do, you know. And they take it as, for one, when it comes to the situation that they trying to, impose with this whole thing is they trying to help us and you know be with us in a relationship that they trying to do us a favor. I'm like, nah, because at the end of the day, when we take care of everything for you, all the blunt of everything comes back on us. And a lot of women they don't understand that. You know, you go out there and do something stupid, then you come get me and try to get me to handle it. Just like the dude that shot one of the security guards at a I think it's like a Dollar General or something like that over a mask. This dude went to prison on the premise of his girl coming back telling him some dude checking her at the Dollar Tree. So he went up there, tried to handle his business, ended up going to prison for that. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's going on?
Not much, just popping in, see how you guys doing. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, I wanted to say something real quick what you said earlier. To the people that make 50,000 or better, you were saying that, they're in a position, but you gotta understand there's guys who make like 32 and below, but they keep their finances in order. I
oh,
mean,
yeah,
they
yeah.
know how to handle their money, to a degree. I mean, it ain't even about the money aspect, as far as how much you make, really, because in most cities you can live off a low amount, and then if you actually have a wife or somebody that's actually working with you, both of you guys can make the money flip even more dealing with stocks and other things to boost your income that way. It's not no shite to you. I know what you were going at, but I just wanted to throw that in. But I forgot about it on Rogers.
No, no,
But
I do agree with you. I used to make back in, let's just say, like 2005 to 2006. I was in that ballpark from 32 to 35, and I had an apartment in New York. I lucked
yeah,
up on a good apartment. Um, I had a whip, but my lifestyle wasn't outpacing what I was making. I wasn't doing anything crazy with my money that was coming in, so I was able to, save the money, make some investments, and get things started. Um, my only thing is that with most people, they don't have the discipline to do that, and this is why most of our neighborhoods in New York, I'm just talking mainly about New York, but you can spread this out over the country. This is why we don't even own the very stores and shops in our own neighborhoods, especially in New York. You go anywhere in New York, there's a Ock owns a store, Rodriguez has his own little store. Apu's got the 7-Elevens and the gas stations on lock. So you're basically living as a living consumer in your own neighborhood. Whereas, you go down to, like, let's just say Little Italy or the Jewish neighborhoods, they have stores for their community built for them, almost like on some FUBU type stuff for us, by us type of stuff. But even in our own neighborhoods, and at least in New York, I'm speaking on, we don't really own much because the emphasis is on the looks, the shiny belt buckles, the let me go finance a car so I can look like I have money, but I still live in the projects. And it's just kind of forces this 360 whirlwind of nothingness. And I see this firsthand, and I'm not speaking on it from like a pulpit type of thing. Like, I'm from that. Like, I've come up through the ranks, so to speak. Like, if you were in the military, you start at, like, let's just say cadet, then you move up to corporal, lieutenant. Like, I've gone through the stages. So at each stage, what kept me, I guess, clean is I watched the pitfalls of other people, and I learned from them on what not to do. I guess that's my saving grace to the point where I'm at now. And I like to just comment on stuff like, it's not popular, because a lot of times when you say stuff like this, you get the name calling, you're this, you're that. But I'm seeing boots on the ground, like stuff that could be avoided, um, but egos and all types of things like that will not allow people to get past to the next step. especially on the woman's side, because like I said, I don't even know if I even mentioned it, but I was at a party, a friend of mine's party about a week and a half ago, and the women were about, let's just say, from 27 to 35 ish, in that age range. And what I saw was basically what BGS alludes to a lot of times when he talks. He says, like, the wall of silence or the wall of indifference. And I kind of felt, no, not even felt, like I saw, like there was a clear divide on the interaction between black men, black women. It's like a mixed party. So it was like black guys there, there's black women there. It's also like Latinas and white women. It's pretty much a diverse group of people put together in a space. And I kind of saw most of the black women had their gay friends, and they kind of like hovered around the same place. The Latina and the white women were kind of like more outgoing to the black guys in the party, more friendly. And at this particular event, I know I'm just kind of like rambling off, but at this particular event, I was at my friend's party, but I was playing the photographer, so to speak. Like, he just redid his big backyard. He's having a big event. It was one of the girls' birthday. So in those cases, I like to play the low key role, where it's like you kind of just be unassuming. So what I noticed, and I'm just going off of just giving you like a pattern of behavior. What I noticed that when I would invite, like, Latina, white girl, maybe an Indian girl or two, hey, come over here, take some photos. It was always like like a more of a appreciative vibe, like, oh man, thanks, let's do it, let's have fun. Whereas with the sisters or black women, it kind of felt like pulling teeth, like, like, who are you? Like, all right, But see, the thing after that was, after I did the pictures and the next day pretty much edited to everybody, all the people who had that kind of disposition were like, oh man, I didn't even know you were this good. If I would have known, I would have took it seriously. Whereas the other women off the bat took it seriously. So that's a small little nugget of dynamics between how the differences of how we're treated by our own and treated by other people. And these are little things that I noticed. I don't mean to take over the conversation, but I was just a little story that happened last week.
Oh, you good. I mean, you got to understand when it come down to it in our community, man, we don't we don't want to talk about the stuff that's going to impact us, man. Go Professor, he was talking this morning about um, getting a second job and just the benefits and everything. Nobody wants to be held accountable. You know, nobody wants to be held accountable for their actions. When it comes down to it, if I mess up, somebody needs to come save me. You know, and that's in both men and women. And that's what I get tired of the most. I understand the women have their fault, but I get tired of the men. If I understand when it comes down to it, there's a lot of men who've been hurt. This situation that we're dealing with, we're working with it in this space. But for the guys who are out here playing the field, you know, trying to draw guys in, that's what killed me the most. You have a older group of men coming at these younger guys. You supposed to be teaching them not how to get through the pitfalls and just telling them not to get married, not to deal with women in general. I don't get that because you had your fun, you've experienced it. You should be teaching them not to make the mistakes you have. Like I see my uncles, I see certain people in my family, I see how they moved, I see how situations panned out with them. I know not to go down that path. I know not to, do certain things to get a better outcome for myself.
Well,
Even if my uncle, one of them, just told me not to get married, it's not gonna, it's not benefiting him. So he can tell me not to get married, and if I lose out in life, I just lost out. You know, go ahead.
right. I just feel like I do agree with your point.
Whoa, 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 whoa. No,
Yeah,
no
sorry.
feelings over here. Now you good. No feelings. Just I just mess with people that say feelings a lot because when you start to say feelings, you get too emotional about the thought. You're giving more
Okay.
opinion than a fact. But no, you cool.
Yeah,
Right,
I
right.
mid
I was just
sentence there.
messing
I
with you.
think. I
I was just
think.
messing
Yeah.
with you
Let
though.
me get into that movement of I think. You're right. Let me just keep it like I think that from what I see, and again, this is I'm mostly unpopular with what I say, but it is, you know, in my opinion, the reality that I see. Like the days of, see, we had a period of time where let's just the Pookies and Ray Rays were winning in this dysfunction because there was always like a safety net. So if Pookie and Ray Ray has three babies, there's a safety net for the females. He might get on child support, but in most cases he doesn't have a job, so you put him on child support, really nothing happens. So there was a built-in comfortable safety net. And I think, you know, everything is, you know, if you were a Pookie and Ray Ray, you can always leverage your muscle. And the way things are going now, muscle is not as important as it used to be 20 years ago. So like 20 years ago, you could get a nice factory job. You could probably, you know, look up on UPS or just a manual labor type job. And that's not really available as it was. And it's available to those who are pretty much grandfathered in at this point. But moving forward, that's not available. If you're not coding, if you're not tech savvy, you know, what seemed to happen in the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of people went on this entrepreneurship, start a business. But, you know, most businesses fail. You know, eventually they do succeed if you try hard and whatever, but everybody can't be a success. And you've seen that, let's just say with the OnlyFans thing, just to make it simple. Like once people hear like, oh, you hop on OnlyFans, I'm cute, I can get on there and make a bunch of money. But the reality of it is most OnlyFans girls make 500 to 700 a month if they're lucky. And that's like way below minimum wage. So we have like this culture now where it's, I don't know if you ever seen Star Wars where they were in that garbage compactor and it was just like getting closer and closer before Han and all those guys had to get out of there before they got crushed. This is what's going on. The squeeze is on. And dudes that relied on the swagnificance or the get over culture, it's actually all those safety nets that were built in, you know, whether it be from the government, you know, or whatever, those have pretty much evaporated. And same thing for the women. Like they had safety measures. Like, you know, I'm a cute girl. I can go work at the club. I can be a bottle girl. I can do this. All that's eradicated, at least in New York. You know, I'm pretty sure it follows suit in most cities. So now we're having a come to raw moment, so to speak. So it's not, it's like, all right, the reality is setting in, and those who have prepared for this dark time, or like people like to say, winter is coming, they're pretty much going to be, you know, I'm not going to say all right and perfect. There's always going to be dips and downs, but for the most part, if you put yourself in position to win, when the clouds come, you know, you'll be all right. But those people who are living on the fringes, you know, and I have family members too, like, you know, don't get a job. That's the old school way of thinking. Everything is internet, and you know, your social media can pay you. I'm like, well, that's not sustainable. People don't understand sustainability of what they're. It's like, for instance, like a lot of people who did YouTube and they were successful. When that ad apocalypse happened, that was it for a lot of people. They had to shut down, you know, and I think that's kind of like what's slowly happening, because when you pump so much money into America, backed by nothing, and basically all those people that you kind of put on a stipend, you know, that's coming to an end in September. The moratorium is coming also, you know, in the end of September. So now I'm like, now it's the wall of indifference and the wall of silence is more important now than ever, because now you can actually step back and have perspective. And what I see on the ground is a lot more females being, you know, and don't fall for it. I'm not saying to fall for it, but what I see is the tactics starting to change. Now people want to understand and have conversations. My thing is, I don't negotiate with terrorists, point blank, period. Like, I didn't forget the last 10 years plus where things, when the pendulum was swinging on this side, how things went down, how people were talked to and treated. So now that things have inadvertently swung this side, I'm keeping the same energy. And this is why, in my opinion, like, you know, like the Butler said to Batman in The Dark Knight Returns, like, some men just want to see the world burn. And I'm not saying I want to see the world burn, but I understand it has to happen, because there's no way you can come to an agreement with these people who are hell bent on seeing your destruction and then somehow see it through. So I'm like, no, it has to burn. Unfortunately, there's always collateral damage in any type of war, any type of destruction, or any type of economic downturn. All right, but that's all figured out in the numbers. There's going to be, homeless people. That's already prepared for that. And I'll save who I can save, immediate family members, of course, my sister, brother, something like that. But anything outside of that peer view, like if I knew you in high school, if you were nice to me 2 weeks ago, no, you're out there with the wolves on your own. And that's just the way I feel it has to be. Now, some people might disagree with me, like save the kids, save the children, but that's just my point of view. What do you guys think?
Well, you know, it's like what Gold Professor said earlier. You know, you free to make your choices. I mean, that's what brings a lot of people to America. The reason why people in the world gravitate toward America is because um, is that freedom aspect. But most of these women, when they think of freedom, they think of dick. That's what they think freedom is. And it's like you don't you're not free from the consequences of your choices. John Kerry said some years ago, he was like, in America, you have a right to be stupid. That's true. You do have a right to be stupid, but you don't have a right to be free from the consequences of being stupid. That's two different things. And so many of these women they have seen their mothers and even grandmothers, aunts and sisters, they have seen these women go out here and be stupid. So why would you go and follow behind that stupidity in being stupid? Like if you've seen a parent with a substance abuse issue, why the hell are you going to follow that up and follow behind them and do the same type of thing? Like you see the results, you live the consequences of those decisions. So at some point, some stuff has to just be common sense. So when it really comes down to it, is the fact that this is really what it is. They want the consequences of their own personal decisions to be visited upon the shoulders of black men. They want black men to carry that burden, and it's not going to happen. The thing about what G was saying on Ryder's channel earlier, there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of people who didn't grow up with that strong, intact family unit. They don't. A person who has not had that type of upbringing, their sense of what people think it should be based on family is not going to be the same. Now, the thing for me is I have two perspectives. I know what it's like to have that close knit family around. I know what it's like not to have it. I've seen both sides of it. So, but the thing about it is that we want people to do these things based on the tradition and black and things like that. But intelligent black men have seen that the tradition of being respectful towards men, to submit to the authority and the leadership of men, that's not there. So you can't expect men to respond in a traditional way when the women get to act completely non-traditional. Like that's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? That's never. I mean, that's just not. It's not going to last. And so, some of the younger generations are really seeing like, based, especially on their own experiences, they're like, you telling me to put it on the line for this? They like, hell no, I ain't putting it on the line for this. Not this shit right here. Because even myself, I say it all the time. I ain't here to save no black America. I'm not doing none of that shit. I ain't Jesus Christ. I ain't none of that. I ain't Malcolm. I ain't Garvey. I ain't doing none of that. Now, if y'all want to start something new and we exclude the dumbasses so they don't mess up our shit, I'm with that completely. Y'all want to start something new? I'm all ears on that one. But saving this present day bullshit, nah, I ain't doing that shit. Because many of these types of females, man, they need to get the lesson. If we step in the way of the lessons that they need to learn, and we as men, we got lessons we have to fucking learn all the time. If you step in the way of a lesson that is coming through God or whatever spiritual being you want to worship, if that lesson is coming to them to wake them up, and you stand in the way of that lesson being learned, you can get yourself hurt in the process. And that's the point of what we was talking about earlier. Like, you talking about helping somebody, and this could be a lesson that they need to learn, which is ultimately what's supposed to help them. If you stand in the way of that particular lesson, you're not helping them because they're not changing. The lesson is supposed to change you. It's not supposed to let you keep doing the same dumb shit you're doing. The lesson is meant to change your behavior. When you got your ass whooped, that was a lesson to change your behavior. That was what the lesson was for. It was a hard one. It was a painful one. But the point of the lesson was not to beat your ass just to beat your ass. That would be abuse. The point of the lesson, the ass whooping, was to reorient your damn behavior to something that was more positive, more that was better, and allows you to integrate within your own family structure. You got people who are not even coming from that type of mentality, and then they're out here, they're not integrating into society the way that they should, just from a basic level. We're talking just basics. We're not talking about grand shit. We're just talking about basic level type stuff. And so many of these men are looking at this situation. They're like, you want me to say that shit right there? I think not.
Well, I agree with you. Just to add to it, I think on the men's side, we're held accountable automatically for lessons we don't learn. Like there's no safety net that allows us to act the fool and just get away with it. Like if we act the fool, cops, we get shot. If we can't afford to live where we live, we're homeless. Like, so on the men's side, we learn our lessons pretty quick. We have no choice. The newer generation, like I would say the younger kids, and I would say maybe women at 28-ish, they're starting to realize that the other women are not playing around when it comes to securing a higher quality man from our race. From what I can see, you know, me, I tend to mostly go overseas, but when I do dabble in the domestic market, I tend to see a little bit more respect, understanding, and just basically common decency dealing with other races of women
Right.
as opposed to dealing with my own. And I already understand that dynamic before I even, I can just tell, you know, just by starting general conversations, basically something on the basic level, like, hey, how you doing? Good morning. And anytime you get a response that is not the same that you throw out there, you already know, like, this is not going to go. It doesn't even matter how good she looks. You already know there's no amount of persuasion or game that's going to put things in your favor. Now, just on a side note, I mentioned this to a couple of my friends, just interacting with our own women. I said, do you ever notice, like, when you speak to the average black woman, before you really get into details about her life and her experiences and actually regular stuff, and maybe this is just me, so that's why I'm just putting it out there, I always seem to find that I find out about their shortcomings almost ahead of time. And what I'm trying to say is this: like, you ever speak
Exactly.
to somebody and they automatically tell you, here's a good one. They'll tell you, oh, I've got HDHD. I think that's what ADHD, whatever.
ADHD.
Yeah, that's where you don't pay attention, right? And here's nothing. I'm gonna backtrack on that in a second. The other one is I've been abused. I was in some crazy relationship. It's always a prerequisite off the cuff, like off the bat when you meet them. And I think that's a way, like this one girl says to me, again, I'm not trying to talk to them or nothing like that. We were just doing photos and stuff like that. But she's telling me this, and she's not the first one, second, third, fourth, or fifth. So in my brain, I said, okay, and just let me know if you think what you think about this. I think they're putting that out there to justify eventual bad behavior. So
Yes.
and to break it down, so
Yes, very much so.
so it's like if you're doing business with a female of your own race, and let's just say I'm just trying to keep it simple. The call time to speak on the phone is 7 a.m. Hey, and you give them directions. Hey, listen, we have X meeting to do. I need you to call me at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. What'll most likely happen, they'll forget, or they'll just don't do it because that's a form of submission, but they'll blame it on their ADHD. They'll blame,
Yes.
there's always factors, or even if you're in a relationship, they'll blame some bad behavior on some past abuse that you had nothing to do with. But somehow you're expected to understand, and that's why I said, well, not for nothing, but most men have some type of whether it be abuse, their hangups, whatever. But you still have to kind of like be a functional adult when you're dealing with other people. And I find that in our own race, I find that that's kind of thrown out there as an excuse for bad behavior later on. What do you think about that?
Let me
Yes.
say something real quick.
That's
And you know what I
I'm
think
gonna let the
about
other
it? Can I
guys
say
jump
one
in.
thing real quick?
Hold on,
Sorry.
hold on, y'all. She trying to get in.
Sorry.
Huh?
Hold on, she trying to get in.
Who's that? D Hodges?
Yeah, I just want to say it don't matter. Like, it don't matter. You could bring a woman from another country and let her get Americanized, shit get ruined. You could bring an American woman to another country, she get ruined. You can even bring a girl from up east down south if she get into that custom, can ruin it for you. You could bring your good old southern home girl up east and let her get cool with people, and now she's easternized. So you gotta keep them where they from. You wherever y'all move to, you can't really let them interact with that people, because I know down south women that became New York women that became Atlanta women. So in my opinion, that's all I wanted to say is like, you just, as you being a man, I make sure I diverse that shit how much you around who. Cause you're not gonna Americanize my woman. Hell no.
Well, absolutely, I agree. When you travel, you tend to pick these things up. Like people who don't know, they'll think, "Oh, I'm gonna go to this country, find this dream woman, and bring her back." No, that is not that is not how it goes. If you want to have a successful relationship, what you want to do, you want to be in a position where you can eventually live in their country and enjoy um, the market rates and the dollar, the increase by going to their country. You don't want to bring, because the minute you do that, you take ownership of that female. Once you do that, once she gets wise to the laws that are in America, she can basically take half your stuff legally. So all the
I,
swagnificance and the alpha, you can't alpha your way through the court system. Those
I
guys need
want
child support
Well,
too.
but I know men say that, but the thing that a lot of these women who do come from these places operate with, though, that really keeps a lot of them from doing that is a family standard.
yep,
And then
culture.
don't
There
let
are
them
women. There
then
are
don't
women
let
who
them
come
become
from.
a
Hold
citizen.
on. There.
Oh, if they become a citizen, you're over.
Hold on. Let me
hold
explain.
on, hold on. Let him talk. Let him talk.
There. For example, there was a brother I knew. He said his friend was dealing with an Indian woman. Now they weren't even married. Her father came to the house. The brother was the. This is a black American man sitting down talking to her. There was no food or nothing to drink in front of him. The father scolded her and said, "What is this? You don't have no food for the man, no nothing to drink." He said, "I taught you better than this. Get your ass in that kitchen and get him something to eat and something to drink." And guess what she did? She took her butt right in that kitchen and got him something to drink and something to eat, because of that family standard. Because for them, they understand that being disowned by your family, for them culturally is a death sentence. In America, that's the problem. Being the very behaviors that a lot of these women exhibit used to, in America, used to get in many instances will get you disowned from your family, because it wasn't just about you. If you had your father's name, This is why the concept of a bastard used to be such a social pariah to people. Because when you didn't have your father's name, it meant that you had nothing. It didn't matter if you didn't have no money. If you didn't
Right.
even have your father's name, that was enough to, man, make people really look down upon you socially. So these women who come from these particular places, yeah, they in America, but guess what? They got a family in Iraq, and they want to go see them, man, during the pilgrimage to Mecca. So guess what? They act accordingly as if they're still in that particular country. It happens. I know a lot of dudes say that. Now, when you hear a lot of these stories about dudes getting suckered, most of the time you hear those stories, those are white dudes who are getting suckered. Most of the time, those white dudes is getting suckered because quiet is kept. The biggest sense out here really are white men. It's not black men. It's not black men. Those foreign women tend to submit. They tend to submit to black men. Now, when it comes to white men, on the other hand, a lot of them dudes are soft and they get played for the fool like that. I'm not saying there are not black men who have never experienced that, because there are. I'm just saying in general, nah. So we got to be careful in how we really tease this out, because you have men who still represent. I mean, we got mosque here in the United States. We have Muslim communities here. We have Indian communities here. I was in college one time, and this Indian chick was in my class, and I wanted to get the previous notes from the last class because I had missed it. And I was like, well, what's your number? I was going to call her, I wasn't even asking for a home number. I was thinking she, had a cell phone. This girl was in college and was like, oh no, my father doesn't allow men to call my house. This was in college, B.
I understand. Trust me.
This was in college, fam. This was in America too. So make no mistake about it. Yeah, there are some females that come over here and they get away from their family. And guess what? They disown those females. And then they're really no different than the females that's here, who they learn all that bullshit from in America. But those are the ones you don't want anyway. But overall, when they have a family, when they have family, especially in the United States, they act accordingly because they never know who's watching them. Those same rules still apply. They still have men that drive around and show up at their house unannounced and without an invitation, just to pop up and see what they got going on. That stuff still happens in certain particular cultures that come here, even though they're in the United States.
Now you do make a good point. Now, your point, what you're saying is that basically they have a patriarchy, and being cut off from that patriarchy would be considered suicide because they are provisioned, and protected by their men.
Right, exactly.
Now here's why I have the smoke for us men. And, this is where it gets unpopular. So it's like, we do know how it's supposed to go. And we do know the reason why it ain't going the way it's supposed to go. So then I would say, okay, then that's where, in a sense, we take a bit of responsibility, because now these females are going around wild as can be. Why? Because instead of being a part of our patriarchy, they're supported mainly by the state. Now they're strong and independent because retail and the government is their employer, which is pretty much, once you get into a government job, I mean, you almost have to kill somebody to really get fired. In retail, we already know how that goes for women. So now we're in a situation where it's like I'm not going to say all, but most black men are not in a position to cut them off from what? From the businesses you don't own, from the car that you didn't buy her, from the college fund that you didn't save up. So now to a certain extent, the women have put two and two together, like, all right, well, there's really no consequence with me not listening to you because I have the state behind me to do what I want. So that's why I give a little bit of smoke to the men. And I always tell them, like, it's about the money, and a lot of times I get a lot of pushback. And they, this is where the game gurus come out like, no, even if you have money, she won't respect you. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I would like to be in the position to pave the dirt roads, to make people follow my direction. That's what the money is important for. The money is not necessarily, oh, I got money, so I'm going to get bitches and swag. No, when you get money, they are accessories to the murder. They come with it. It's like breathing. Like once you get to a certain financial status, there are some fools that part with their money that don't have an understanding of male female dynamics. But I'm not talking about those dudes. I'm talking about straight up dudes who built themselves up, got their money together, but also have their mental and how to deal with male and females. Once you have that, you'll be in spaces that other certain women will be in, and it'll be just like certain spaces you go to command respect, and you don't have to show your wallet. It's the point that you're there. You can't be there unless if you're broke. So the fact that when you get to certain levels of society, just the fact that you're in a certain space is all that needs to be discussed. When you're in the poor neighborhoods, let's just say the strip clubs, that's when you have to show. You have to wear the shiny belt buckles. Now it's all about swagnificance. Now you throw money in the air. But when real money comes into the room, this is why most rich people don't dress with name brand clothing, because they don't like looking like billboards. Like, it's another social status. So this is what I'm saying with most our women. They really don't excel above a certain, let's just call for what it is. They don't really go beyond middle class. Now they might have wants to be bougie and pretend fake, like I'm more high class than what I really am. But that's the reality of the situation. Is most of us are middle class, and we have aspirations to be higher class. And the only difference between male and female is that when they're 18 to 26, being as though the internet is so widespread, they can kind of mingle with the upper tier of men in terms of sexuality, but nothing serious when it comes to marriage retention. And I think that's what's going on. So it's like a lot of guys who, let's just say the ELs, educated lames, are like, I think the biggest problem with them is that when they interact with regular dudes, there's no sense of hierarchy. Like, black men, in my opinion, have a severe problem with following hierarchy, like the military. Like, there's
yes, they do.
Yeah, because what happens is this, and not, again, this is just my opinion. And like I said, I come from the ground up, so I'm not like giving this in theory. Like, I'm out here, I travel, I've come from nothing, middle class, so what I see is that when the lower tier of men has to focus on game because he doesn't have, so now the mouthpiece becomes pristine, which is great. You need that. Whereas let's just say the EL doesn't necessarily focus on that, focuses on career, job, the things of that nature. But once you get above 30, now this is really like the social order is in place now. So the guys who are actually in a financial position to talk to congressmen, to fund certain projects in the lower income neighborhoods, they don't get the respect from the men or in a lower tier, because like, well, you don't get bitches. I got game. You got all this money, but I get the same bitches you fucking. So now it becomes this eternal battle of like He-Man versus Skeletor, which goes nowhere. So just to relate it to that. So this is what I see. So I feel like if there was like a better understanding, and please believe other races of men have this understanding. Like, Chinese men have hierarchy. Jewish men have hierarchy. Saudi Arabian men have one guy might be a millionaire, but this Saudi prince is a billionaire. So you're not going to see that millionaire disrespect the billionaire, because it's just, but that millionaire will, put his influence on the guys below him. But still, there's a hierarchy with all that. What we have now is basically like the Wild Wild West. It's it's the guy who actually put in the work, who has the background, who actually know how things go. But since this guy, he smashed a couple of chicks off of the mouthpiece, what I have to say is just as important as you do. But see, now we're in phase 4, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're in like phase 4, where all that don't mean nothing now.
Yeah, I mean, your game doesn't mean anything. That's why I said, like, even on Roger's show some months back, when Sister Ray was up there talking about game, and then when BGS asked him to actually define what game was, he couldn't even define it.
What game is for women is if they like you physically, it really doesn't matter what.
It doesn't matter. That's what I try to tell him. I was like,
you know what I'm doing?
Hold on.
If I'm rich, I'm signing a paper. Bitch, if I die, you don't get a nickel. I swear to God. I don't know. You could put that in your will. I don't care. I'll give it to my son. No, because some women you might think it's middle class to you, but to them in their country, that could be a whole lot with her boyfriend. So I'm not saying they would do it, but that will be the biggest thing in my prenup. If I die, you get nothing. Like murder. If I die from murder, know what I'm saying? Now, some like a heart attack or a stroke or something like that, then maybe. But no, I'm not gonna get married to you and then you get killed, I get killed, and now you share my money with the man in your country. Some women are like that though. Some women will really get up with you just to body you and get your bread. So I'm just giving. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if you could legally do it in Massachusetts, but if you can, that'll be a part of my will. You only get the money if I die, natural causes.
See what
Cause
happened?
I'm
Yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
let me say this. Like I was saying, like the game um, is there is no game when the environment that you are in terms of a so-called community, when most of the women embrace a welfare mentality that says I can go out here and sleep with any guy and be taken care of. That's an artificial environment because nowhere else in the world can that exist like amongst civilized people. You have to make quality choices as a woman in terms of marriage because he's your leader. You don't have to make that choice as a woman when your husband is the state. Because as long as you got these kids, the state will come in and help you provide for those children in the stead of a husband. So game is unnecessary because the females are going to choose who they want to sleep with and who they get impregnated by. And it doesn't matter really what the looks are because a lot of times these females are not sleeping with a guy just for the looks. They sleeping for a check. So the game is unnecessary because of the low quality of the mindset of the women and what aspect do they have in terms of the state to be able to get the very things they need to sustain themselves because they're just sustaining children, they're not raising the children. And so in these, but when you come to different groups of people, and this is one of the things that a lot of black people don't understand. Black American people just have a very hard time accepting the fact that class distinctions exist. Because once you start putting a class perspective on certain things, now you can't make the argument, well, we black and we all the same. No, you can't make that argument. Because there are certain black people who come from a certain high class who do not want your type and a part of their family. They don't. They do not want you a part of their family. They do not want you coming to their bloodlines and ruining the things that they have built from a family structure standpoint. Most black people out here who don't come from that type of mindset, they want us to
and the
believe that
second
we're
part. You know what
all
the
the
second
same.
part is? Cause say you got a rich woman and you want to get her for the money, then you don't get nothing. Even if it really happened, they're still gonna say you killed her. Like that's just a 50-50, a double standard. You know what I'm saying? What if she got them bricks and millions on deck and you want to get it? Not, I would never do that, but we wouldn't even get a chance to.
Yeah,
It's
but
like 50-50. It's like a double standard for women. That's just some bullshit.
yeah, but you look at the standard with Holly Berry, Mary J, how their divorces went compared to people like Jordan and all these other celebrities. Look how their divorces went. And earlier, I think when Marty was talking about the situation with a lot of those black women, I don't deal with them. I mean, just to being honest, when it comes down to a lot of those, I'm talking about literally, like when I start getting like to the point where I really wanted a wife, I start cutting all those hood chicks out. I start cutting out girls that just want to give me some ass because they look good. I wasn't fucking them. That's why. That's the main difference. Why I think I got a better deal because I wasn't just randomly smashing. I knew what I wanted, and all of that bull that was coming my way, that wasn't for me. Like, in a situation like you was at that party, the chicks that were acting like that, cool. I'll be there just to, hang out, but I wouldn't literally talk to none of them chicks, because it's to the point where I tell guys, we all talk about women who wear weaves. We don't like the women in the weaves. But when you still smash a chick, it validates that you don't care if I got a weave or not, because you still gonna hit. So when men stop smashing the chicks with weaves, it puts a question in the head: why are no men not touching me? Why
Right.
are no men not dealing with me? See, long as we keep putting this standard out that we want this type of woman, but we still fucking these type of women, that standard is gonna remain that you don't care, you know. And the low hanging fruit guys that come over there who just smashing to be smashing, and they not getting nothing out of those guys, that's when they're gonna start developing that thought like, okay, well, this type of guy messes with me, but this are the type of guys that I really want.
But
So in the end, we can't say that we want better women, but we still smashing the hoes.
but
You got to
here,
pick and choose the struggle.
here's
That's completely hold on. That's completely false. Number one, that's the problem within Black America is that we equate motherfuckers equally. A hoe is not on the level of a man that's just trying to get a piece of that. Like, no, if you live in a society that restricts your see, the thing is that I ain't gonna say black men don't have the sexual freedom that women do in the United States. They don't. Women can go out here and fuck whoever they want irresponsibly, and they can still be validated through the state. It ain't the men that's validating the women, it's the state. Because if them same hungry ass hoes didn't have the state to lean on, guess what? They wouldn't have such a high view of themselves. It's not the men, it's the state. The man that's just out there just trying to get a piece. And if prostitution was legal, we wouldn't even be having these arguments. Because guess what men would do? Men will say, man, I ain't trying to get no relationship with these chicks. I'm just trying to fuck. Okay, let me go over and see what they talking about over here. Boom. And you can deal with certain calibers of women. The more money you're willing to pay, you get a certain type of woman in terms of how she carries herself in terms of that type of industry. But women have the freedom to do it. This is why you got hoes who think that they're on the same level as men who are productive because they're validated through the state. They're not validated through the sex. They're validated through the fact that the state will come in and take care of the mess that they created through their womb. That's two different things. Men are not validating these women. They're not validating these women. They're not validating these women at all. And the reason why we know this is because all these hoes keep goddamn complaining out here. Why? Why these same hoes complaining? Why they getting on Kevin's show all the time looking for how value men? Because they ain't being validated. The marriage rate in America is like 29%. So yeah, men fuck these hoes, but men ain't marrying them hoes. So clearly that ain't validation right there. If we think fucking a bitch is validation, we got some serious problems in Black America. That ain't never throughout the course of human history. There have been kings who have fucked side bitches all day long and bust in them and had babies with them, but they ain't never validate them through the lineage of their family, and that's why they didn't take care of them, and that's why they couldn't get on the throne. Ultimate validation is marriage and a family. Anything else, bitch, you just getting fucked.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was gonna expound upon that point, and I was gonna say, like, what's going on is, 10 to 20% of the men are basically having to pick of the litter with 80% of the women. So obviously, when it comes to like the validation point in terms of getting married, even on a statistical standpoint, that's not even possible. So what's going on? Let's just keep it real. More women 18, and I always keep it to 26 because that's to me the prime years. Most of these women are going for the guys are pretty much established for the most part. High level, you can even say high value men, whatever, because let's just face it, girls want to have fun, especially when they're young. They can have fun. So this is creating an imbalance, and sport fucking or sport smashing when they get to around 24, 25, the reality tends to hit them when they're like, oh man, I'm starting to get old. And then there's a new model coming out every day that turns 18, and I'm not getting the attention. So that's when all these other factors start to play in the validation. Because, but at the end of the day, women are going to do what they're going to do because, at least in our community, because there's no watchdog eye, there's no, let's just face it, this is not a patriarchy like other races of men. So they kind of just running wild. But then once they get one or two babies and they've made the mistakes, now we have the Kevin Samuel aftermath where it's like, woe is me, I have value, and I deserve marriage. You don't deserve anything because I seen on another show because you don't prioritize the things that you think you deserve. Just like if you deserved, good health, you would prioritize eating well and working out. So you can't gain 400 pounds for 15 years and at the finish line say, I deserve to have a six pack. And you feel entitled to it. You see what I'm saying? So now the reality, because let's face it, none of us live like women, but I can only imagine it would be something similar to either a porn star or a basketball player, where you wake up in the morning, money's in the bank, you go outside, and you can pick and choose. If I had that mindset since I was basically 16, and I'm now 32, how warped would my reality be? And this is what we are starting to see. And there's no governing. There's no brakes on this car. But the only brake is when they hit the wall. You know what I'm saying? So they're starting to realize that the new models are coming out, and they didn't take their wonder years to actually lock down a guy of value. So now it's like the Hunger Games. It's like we got to fight to the death, me versus. But see, the thing is, Mei Ling, Marisol, Becky, these women have come out of stables. I'm just going to say stables, like horse stables. They come out the gate ready for war. They come with the shields, the swords, thoroughbreds, and what they're starting. I'm not even going to say they're starting to do what they've been doing. They're watching from the sidelines. They're listening to these panels, and finding out the cheat code. They're like, oh, black men kind of like this, and stay fit. Listen, when I go to the gym, all I see is Becky's and Latinas. I never see Keisha's or Sham Keisha's, cousins of Shamu. I don't see none of them. All I see is Becky's, and it's a very pleasant atmosphere to be around. So it's like, if you grew up in the hood, as most of us, somewhat middle class hood, and you received a certain style of treatment from your own woman, I'm telling you, once you experience something else, and dare I say, once you travel somewhere else and you experience beautiful women cooking and cleaning for you, and there's no strings attached in terms of having to be this super ultra killer like Rambo alpha male who kills anybody who steps on his sneaker, or you don't have to pull up in a 6 series Benz to catch their attention. Because let's be honest, like I said, I go to Columbia a lot. There's taxis everywhere. Nobody really has a car because it doesn't make sense there's really nowhere to park if you did have one. So everybody pretty much Ubers and taxis all over the place, or it takes a motorcycle. So the car game is not a thing out there. Game is not a thing out there because you have over an abundance of pretty women who are all fighting to be the top chick. So over there, when's the last time you seen in America, like going to the dentist is the thing? Keeping your skin clear is the thing. Like over there, if you have braces on, it's considered a status symbol. It's weird, but there's no bad teeth over there because the women are put on notice. Like your main component to locking down a higher tier man is directly tied to how you look, because over there it's a severe patriarchy. Like over there, it's like, for a woman, it's good, and it's in terms of, if you go out with somebody over there, the man is expected to pay everything. There is none of this 50-50 partnership bullshit. It's like, if a man invites you out, he is expected soup to nuts to take care of everything. And I have no problem with that. But on the reciprocation end, she's also going to follow through with her female duties as well. And there's no what am I trying to say? There's no delineation on that. She knows her role, you know your role, and everything works in perfect, not always perfect harmony, but it's a lot more harmonious than what we have here. So once a guy experiences that, or he has the finances to actually go and check it out and then check back in, you're not going to eat. Like the other guy said, he doesn't even talk to those type of women because you already know just the interaction of saying hi doesn't get you the general base respect results that you would get somewhere else. So like, just to fast forward into the conversation we were talking about, a lot of these women are upset because yes, when you're young, you do have access to rap stars, lawyers. If you're young and you're cute, you do have access to all these top tier men. But of course, women think this is going to go on forever. So they never cash in their chips and they don't wind up locking down the man that they felt that they were due or entitled to. And the new model comes out. So now what the problem is now, it's not even that they're competing with, Sham Keisha, who just turned 18. No, they're competing with all these other chicks that go in the gym and build asses now. Like, I remember back in like the early 2000s or the late 90s, where it was a thing to make fun of white girls because they had no asses. Go on Instagram now, and any, in general, most white girls who put pictures up have a shape and they usually built it in the gym. It's not necessarily natural, but they're putting in that work. So now in our own culture, it's like a thing if she has a big ass, and it doesn't matter if her face is ugly. All that stuff is that's like 10 years ago. Now it's like these women, they're coming through with the face, hair, ass, and more importantly, the attitude. They're coming through with femininity. And that's a combination. Like, I don't really go for the American westernized women in general, but I know most people don't travel or can't travel. So your option pool, it looks a little bit better from a woman that comes from the actual patriarchy than this gynocracy that we're currently in.
Well, I've been saying this for a long time that Black women haven't caught up with the technology. Black women, technology-wise, mentally, are probably about, I would say, 30 years behind. We live in a disruption age. We live in a global economy in that disruption age. Human capital is a part of economies. What I'm seeing is countries devise second citizenship programs, visa programs for foreign people who got money to come in and live a comfortable lifestyle. You can go to certain countries that have infrastructure built for the taste of foreign people, whether they're from Canada, whether they're from Europe, whether they're from the United States, if they're willing to spend that type of money. So you can get a beach in Colombia, Ecuador, Cayman Islands, Turks and Caicos, these types of places, on a beach for relatively cheap if you compare that trying to get something like that in Miami. You know what I'm saying? You trying to get a condo in Miami, you definitely gonna be spending some millions. You know what I'm saying? $3, $4, $5 million. You know what I'm saying? So they are able to have a lifestyle that's cheaper. You have these different emerging economies as well, that, for people who have a much more explorer mentality, especially for men, you can really open yourself up to a whole different life experience. These women, on the other hand, they're still in the 1920s in terms of their mindset, because they really are under the impression that Black men got to put up with their shit. Now, the Black men who put up with their shit tend to be mama boy raised type dudes who's scared to leave home anyway. And they're going to get their ass kicked the way they're supposed to until they wake up. But the men who have a much more explorer mentality, they on these different apps, they talking to women internationally, they in groups where conversations are had with women internationally. I saw on a Lapeef show the other day, they had some, I don't know what this chick was. I think she was Indian or something. She was a part of the conversation. These foreign women are being a part of the Black conversation in terms of relationships. Women from other groups, they're taking part of the conversation. Kevin has talked about how he has had to hold so many different so many women from different groups, ethnic groups, back from the conversation that he's having on his platform, because he knows once he lets them loose, it's pretty much going to be over with. And he's been trying to give these black women a chance to get themselves together, and wake up, because they have no understanding of what's really going on out here. And they also need to understand it from a numbers perspective. When you look at Africa, for example, let's just take Africa, for example. Africa has 519 million women alone. There are more women in Africa than there are people in the United States. South America has over 325 million women. When you start putting these numbers together, we just talking about two different land masses. Like, when you start putting these numbers together, Black American women are only at 22 million. 22 million women are not defeating 825 million, especially when 70-80% of those 22 million women are obese and overweight. We know that this is not the case in South America and Africa. I have seen plenty of women from Africa, and I'm talking about the kind we like. If you like you some dark skin with the nice eyes, Bambi eyes, hips and ass, all that, 5'3", 125 with banging ass,
125.
They over there. And it's normal. It is the norm. So that woman gonna be the abnormal. So again, these women really do not understand that this is not just local, city, county, national competition at play. This is global competition. And these women are showing time and time again that they love black men, they want black men, they making it known that they want these brothers, and they don't care about the history of slavery or none of that. Because you want to know why? Because they got colonization in their history, they got slavery in their history, especially in South America. So that shit ain't gonna ride.
And just to further expound on that point, if a guy over here makes, we already established that the medium salary is 45 to 50 in general. Now, if like I said, I'm not what is it called? SYBM, SBM, whatever. I travel, but I'm not in the travel boys, whatever it's called. But if you go, the cost of living, we're just gonna, just compare and contrast. You go to Colombia, the average Colombian makes roughly $400 a month. Right? And so if they make $400 a month, most of them are cooking. They're not eating out all the time, which means by default, you have to know how to cook, because it's a survival tool. So the average woman, let's just piece it together. The average woman in Colombia knows how to make $1 stretch. So if you get to the point where you can actually, some people have mobile businesses, some people retire, whatever the case is, to live in Colombia, you have to, initially getting in, show that you can at least make $1,500 a month, which is pretty much 3 to 4 times the national average. That's what they require. Most people do that in a heartbeat. That's considered over here to be even under, I believe, minimum wage. Right. So just applying that.
Please drop them numbers, man. Please.
Yeah. So just applying on a basic level, like you can go to Colombia and as an American live in a decent neighborhood, rent for, get a 2-bedroom apartment. You're looking at $800, which will probably include security, water, and your electricity. Pretty much all that will be kind of wrapped up into $800. Then when you come to eating, depending on how you like to eat, if you like to cook at home, you might be looking at $200 and I mean a full fridge of fresh food and then some. $200 a month. Cell phone probably like maybe $30 a month. So basically under $2,000, well under $2,000. Not only do you have a higher, like you'll be in a nice neighborhood with security, probably have a pool and a gym inside your apartment building as well, but you'll have the option to talk to women who are used to talking to men who make $400 a month. So just put the math together. Now, anywhere on the planet you go, a woman is going to look for security and provisions. Now, if she likes you as a person, all that stuff, that's great too. But on the base level, women of other countries understand survival.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why you'll see, even if you go to Russia or, Colombia somewhere, you'll see a guy who's not too attractive. He might not be disgusting, but then his woman is gorgeous.
Right.
And this is why when most black women go to places like Brazil, they can't understand the dynamic between men and women, because in other countries, it doesn't matter if the guy is a lot older or the age of. It doesn't matter if he's super attractive, if he has swagnificance, or if he wears shiny belt buckles. It doesn't matter. What matters is the important thing. Does this guy treat me good, obviously? And can he support me and a possible family if it gets to that level? And that's really what's important to the rest of the world. It's only these clown countries, the Western clown countries, where they put, because the state backs them, they think they can choose a guy on looks and things that don't matter. And when they do, they usually end up with 1 or 2 kids by 2 different guys, because it's all primal instinct kind of a thing, as opposed to thinking, can I actually survive with this person? So I say all that to say, if guys put more of an emphasis, and I'm not saying you have to go to Colombia, there's other places you can go where the dollar, another thing, if
and what the Colombian, it's like 33,000 to $1.
I was just about to say that. In Colombia, your dollar triples. So let's just say if you're making $50,000, right? I know I'm spitting out the facts for some travel shit, but let's just say you're making $50,000, which is the general income for most males in America. That's equivalent to $150,000 over there.
Say that number again.
$50,000 of USD money is equivalent to $150,000 Colombian, 150,000 lifestyle over in Colombia.
Yep.
So some people might be saying, oh, well, I don't make enough to travel. See, the thing is, you have to get you got to get the process started. You have to save money, because, in order to travel and think, maybe one day I might want to live in this place or that place, you want to put boots on the ground. And more than once, you want to check out the neighborhood, you want to check out the people, the customs, and how they govern their society. If not that, all, and the women. So if that all gels with you, and you've been visiting a place for a year, maybe 2, and you've built connections, contacts, now it's time for you to get serious. Now you got to say, what can I do in America that one could transfer over, preferably US to pesos? Because if you think you're going to move to another country and then work for the car plant out there, no. Usually what happens in other countries, they want to keep their jobs for their people. See, they have a oneness about themselves in different countries where we don't have. So we don't understand that. Some people think they're just going to go over there and catch a job and they'll be good. That's not going to happen. So you want to have something that's transferable, that starts in USD, which you can convert or, spend your USD inside of Colombia, whether that be MLM, or if you're really good with stocks, or maybe you're retired, whatever it is. If your money comes in USD and you go over there, you will live like a king on $50,000. And then, just to even take it up a step further, you will literally have your pick of the litter from 18 pretty much to whatever age you want to stop. Me personally, I don't do over 25. That's just a me thing. But you have the option. If you want to go from 18 to say 32 is your limit, you will have that option. And it's not, see now when you talk like this, the guys who don't make money will be in the background and say, well, you're only getting the girls because, you got money. Nah, see, that's basic.
But hold on. I've said this to dudes before. Mm-hmm. You can be a janitor in the United States. Mm-hmm. But the beautiful thing about being a janitor is that many of these females ain't gonna want you like that. But guess what though? Mm-hmm. That means you get to stack your money.
Yep.
You get to stack your money. And when you stack your money, man, it was a fucking Mexican chick. She worked at Panera Bread.
Right.
She's been in the United States for some years. She stacked up enough money where she built a house for her mother in Mexico, and she built her a house in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of these, the sedentary lifestyle that has been created in the last, I would say probably 100 years. Let's say 100 years. Before that, men were used to going out and roaming. We wasn't used to spending a lot of our time up under women and around women all the damn time. The sedentary lifestyle has really led to men getting kind of lazy. But the way that the world has opened up, it's more conducive to the mindset of men. Men, we're explorers just by nature. We was little boys, we was always into some shit, exploring shit, tinkering with some shit. That's our natural inclination. So now that technology has opened up the world to us in ways where you could talk to a chick in the Ivory Coast. Yeah, you can't speak French, but you can translate her words on damn Google Translate. You can have a conversation.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, what I was saying before. See, what guys, tend to take away from what I just said is, well, I can just get girls in my own neighborhood. But I'm like, well, look what you're picking from. You're picking from fat, overweight, disrespectful women who really don't give a ish about you. So, and then they say things like, well, that woman's only with you because you have money. Now, here's the thing. Just because you have an apple and somebody's hungry doesn't mean you're going to default give them the apple. You can show them the apple. You can show them how red it is.
Exactly.
You can cut it open, show them the inside, like this apple's sweet over here. It doesn't by default mean you're going to hand them the apple. But the thing is, how women process things is you have apples. And over here, there are no apples. So I want to be around the guy who has apples because eventually a bump happens and the apple's going to fall off the truck and I'm going to eat an apple. So a lot of these women like to be on the yachts. It doesn't mean you're going to give them the yacht. It doesn't mean
even when people say stuff like that, these are the same women who on Kevin show all the time trying to get a man with money. I
mean, my thing is like, I look at it like this. I was like, if you're smart and you actually made the money through trial and error, I'm not talking like, inheritance, nothing like that. If it took you years to save and build your money, by default, I'm not going to say every guy, but most guys know how to interact with women by 31. I'm just putting it out there. If you're 18 or 21, you're kind of whatever, all over the place. But by that time, you pretty much have enough experience with women to kind of see where somebody's at and if they're trying to use you. And even if they are trying to use you, don't get used. Be smart enough to not be used. That's also, people forget. Like, we have agency too. So what I say to people is like, listen, if you're in a certain situation, like a certain area, to be there, most women who are there know you have to have some type of either clout or your finances are together. So this whole barrier of tricking and showing your money, that it's just at a certain level of class. It's all right. I don't know if anybody here's from like LA and ever's been to like the most expensive areas of LA where they have the mansions. I'm trying to say is like, once you start being in certain neighborhoods and being in certain realms, it's kind of understood that you're here and I'm here. So that whole base level, show me what you got and buy me a bag thing does not apply. It only applies to people who are living in lower socioeconomic statuses where that stuff matters. But when you actually have real money, the speech is different. We're talking investments. We're talking about buying property. We're talking about moving in different places. People who tend to not be used to being around money or make money, they're talking about cars and Jordans and PS5s and dumb shit that has no value. So what I always tell people is like, look what you're thinking. You're thinking that in order to obtain a woman, you have to pay her money. And I'm like, no, what you should do is focus on you making money. They come with it as accessories. But once that happens, you manage your money in your life situation and you'll be successful. But that's a concept. Again, that only happens when you have a functioning hierarchy. But again, like I said earlier, black men have a big problem with following hierarchies.
This is why so many of the men that frequent spaces like this and Rogers, like we've had men who have come in these spaces who have tried to orient black men into money, like I don't know if you know Alonzo, but he's been one of the most important additions that we've had. I don't know if you know him, Alonzo Hall. He's been one of the most important additions to our sphere because he is showing black men that through life insurance and cash value life insurance policies and things like that, you can build wealth up, pretty quickly if you're willing to put the time in and the money in. And so you can literally use these types of vehicles to live the kind of life you want in these places for relatively cheap. So a lot of I agree with you, like, because we've been so conditioned. You know what black men have been conditioned to? They've been switched. They've been conditioned to think that a woman is their purpose, while women have been conditioned to think that being a man is their purpose. It's completely switched. Whereas it's like, no, as a man, a man is a woman's purpose. Your purpose is productivity. You can use these financial vehicles to set yourself up, man, to be in a very comfortable position. Because the thing about it is that a lot of these dudes don't understand is when you don't have a woman, that means you don't have a lot of overhead. You can just stack your money. You know, when you ain't got a woman, you go out here and get 2-3 jobs. Man, you could be setting up, man, you could set up you a damn wing stand in the United States. That shit can make money that you could be over here living comfortably, and you could be setting it up specifically to bring in that capital to fund a life insurance policy in terms of cash value, where you can build that shit up to a point that if you want to take $150,000 or $50,000 or $80,000, you can go over here and then take that money, invest in some real estate. That's going to bring you some monthly income, or you can do some flipping and get that money on that kind of level. It's a whole bunch of things that you can do. And then when you start talking about taking business globally, in a lot of these places, they incentivize foreigners to come in to bring business so they can have jobs there.
Yes, and see, I'm glad you said that. And I didn't know you knew about that.
Oh, hell yeah, I know about that.
Since you brought it up, I'm going to tell you, I did it last week. And what it was, I was originally going through investing in a 457. And what happened was I dialed that back because a friend of mine put me on to the term life insurance, because basically that operates as your own bank. So basically you put, I'm going to just tell you what I did. I said, okay, I'm gonna do this. Let's just say you put in $1,200 a month. Now they usually say you want to at least have it functioning for 5 years. What I did, I think I'm going to cap it at 10 years. So basically after every year it's going to grow, and it grows exponentially every year. So like in year 10, that $1,200 that you're putting aside, you can actually, if it's 150,000, like you said, if it's $150,000, you can pull that entire 150,000 out without penalty because it's already taxed before you put it in. And then if you choose to pay it back, you can on your own time. Whereas with, let's just say, a 401k, when you borrow that, there's a penalty, and then they start you on the payback schedule immediately. But also, your account flatlines. It doesn't grow until you put all the money back in. Whereas with the policy for the life insurance policy, no matter if you pulled every single dime out of it, it's still growing, whether you put the money back in or not. Or you can leave it in there and just use it as supplemental income as it grows. So just think about it. You put it in now, 10 years from now, you go to Colombia, you don't even have to have a job. You can live off of your life insurance policy that's paying you dividends, and you just take it out.
Thank you.
And even if you drop dead, let's say you max, every scenario. I'll give you every scenario. Say your policy's at 350,000, you say, okay, I want to take this money out and buy me a super crazy crib overseas. You do that. Say you drop dead in 10 years. You still have a death benefit that far exceeds the max that you can pull out. So even if you pull out every single dime, if you die, your family's still going to be taken care of with wads of cash. And this is what other races do that we're not even up on. We're still thinking. Go ahead.
What policy is that? Sorry to cut you off, but what kind of policy is that?
New York life term life policy. I probably said it wrong, but it's basically
a term.
Like,
yeah, I mean, Alonzo and he probably come up, but I deal with a lot of policies because the best policy to have is a universal index policy that goes off the market. That's similar to what you're talking about, because with that policy, you can get $100,000 policy and it grows like you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you can't take everything out. You take a certain amount out. I mean, to the extent, and when the policy is, paid after I think like a 30-year or so ban, you can snatch everything out and go from there. Because I know my policy is set to me dying at 78, and if I don't die, but if I don't die before 78, I could take $3 million out of that policy. Whole $3 million. But if I don't, I could just take a portion out.
This one is from, I'm looking at the email, New York Life. I want to get the exact name of it, but from New York Life. But basically, you could take the money out anytime, but they recommend you wait till builds up at least 5 to 10 years. There's no penalty, or they're not saying, hey, you can't touch this money, because that's what the 457.
Drop the link. Alonzo want to come up.
Yeah, I just dropped the link because I know about the term. I know about whole. You got 3 types. You got the term, you got whole life, and you got universal life.
Oh, yeah.
Universal is more of an extension on the whole life.
Yeah, this one, again, I literally just did it last week, so I'm not like fluid with it in terms of terms. But what I'm saying is, they allow you at any point in time, you can pull out the entire thing, and it still builds, even if you took everything out, or you can leave it in there. But no matter, even if you took everything out, your death benefit far exceeds the max you can pull out.
Yeah, we know the gist of what you're saying. Yeah. We just want to make sure that it's clear. That's why we want Alonzo to come up here, because he's a licensed life insuranceman. So
yes, you could probably break it down way better than I can, but I have mine through New York Life, and I literally, because I was dealing with the 457, which is cool. I was probably getting like, maybe depending on the stock market, especially when Trump was in, it was rallying like crazy. It was like I was getting like 18% a year, from 9 to 18% fluctuates. But I was doing okay with that. But when the CARES Act came around, I pulled some out to get another real estate property. So I didn't want to touch it anymore. And then I got hit up by a friend of mine. He was like, "Yo, you should like look into this." And I asked him, I said, "Well, what's the difference between option A and option B?" And he broke it down. And I was like, "Wow, like this is, to me, 10 times better where I was at with it." So I just let what I have in the other account sit and grow, but I want to pump this one out. So when I'm ready to actually move to Columbia and buy a spot, not only will I have this policy, but I'll have additional funds if I need to, if I want to buy a place out there. So but a lot of people don't. The point is, a lot of people just don't know this is how the rich do things.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like, they're
too busy distracted being woke and shit on goofy shit.
Yeah, because I'm telling people, at the end of the day, it is about the money. This is why, and I say for your proof, I turn you to your nearest Black community. There's nothing that most Black people own in their own neighborhood. That's why when something goes down with the cops, they're there to protect property. They're not there to protect you. So if you own no property, guess who has to say so? Trust me, none of this stuff that you guys see on the news and these recordings, none of this stuff goes down in the Jewish community.
Nope.
Doesn't even happen. I tell you another thing.
Oh, and these other places, in these wealthy environments,
don't happen.
The people who live in those environments, they control the police. The police don't control them.
I can tell you this.
So the last thing they want to do is lose that 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 a year job working as a police officer in Beverly Hills. You think they really trying to upset a person that's worth $300 million in those places, they're gonna get their ass fired real fast, and they don't care about none of that shit.
They're on their best behavior. They address the public. Hi, sir. I'll take care of it, sir. No problem. They're very understanding, and I wish somebody
They
would.
don't care how white you are. That white captain, that white chief will fire your white ass in a minute.
What's going on, Lonzo?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Yeah, what's up?
What's happening, Steve?
What up, Zo?
Chilling, bro. Go ahead, finish your statement, bro. I'll hop in a second.
Yeah, and you know, owning property in the neighborhood that you live in is in its own way power, and that's why, you know, people, every time something goes down, you go and march. But I'm like, no, what you should be doing is buying the buildings, buying the real estate, buying the banks, you know, because all that stuff has an influence on the politics that happen, because now you can buy the politicians, you can donate. And there's a reason why, you know, those Asian bills got passed so fast. There's another reason why those LGBTQ, BMT, pass the cheese, all those bills got passed so fast. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why. Now we can go into a whole tangent of how BLM funnels all their funds that they receive from all the public into these politicians, because it was made by these two lesbian chicks, and that's their mission statement is on the website. People tend not to read what they're really all about.
Which one you said?
The Black Lives Matter organization. Yeah, because they don't understand. Every time George Floyd or this person gets killed, they clap because they know they're about to get donations. And what happens with those donations? Those donations go right out the door to the politician. This is why all those people that got killed, and they're starting to complain and sue. They're like, what are you doing with all this money that you got from my son's death? And this is why the head of the BLM, she bought mansions in white neighborhoods, and she stepped down. But see, nobody talks about that because it's very uncomfortable to tell facts.
Ain't got nothing to say about it either.
Nothing to say about it, you know. So I just like to bring up like little factoids that people should know about, but they don't. But if they knew about it, it would change everything. Like, for instance, I say it all the time. Like, you know, a lot of the panels, when they talk about the relationship things, I'm like, guys, listen. There's a bigger world out there from your 4-block radius. I said, why are we worried about what Sham Keisha is doing with so-and-so when you can just be quiet, stack your money, and go visit almost any other country out there, and you will have, listen, the most successful, beautiful women on you, because you're just in the environment of success. It doesn't mean you're spending money on women. You're just there. You're like this orb radiating success, and women are like flies. They're attracted to it. But guys don't understand, because see, it's the same thing. Like when you see guys go to DR and they start throwing the bundles of money, and it's like, yo, why are y'all bringing that culture to DR is gone. It's ruined. They might as well nuke it. You know, that's dead, because people who have never been around other communities,
civilized people.
So yeah, civilized people. The minute they go out somewhere and it's maybe like a little bit cheaper, the women look a little bit better, they just start acting a fool, not understanding that, one, you make yourself look like food out there, which, you know, you get robbed, killed, stabbed. This happens all the time in Colombia, happens all the time in DR. Not only that, but the people tend not to respect you who actually live there. So even if you want to go there and actually meet a real girl of some substance, it's kind of already tainted to the point where it's like you might as well nuke the place, you know. So, but that's what happens, you know.
So real quick, Marty, congratulations on getting yourself and your family, you know, your financial protection through New York Life. It's a great company. What you mentioned sounds like a universal life insurance policy, but it sounds like it's possibly being overfunded. I'm not sure that New York Life has an index universal because they generally have their agents carry the Series 7, so they generally want to put you into an investment product. However, yours may be a variable policy, and without actually looking at the policy and the provisions, I can't tell you exactly which one you have. And when it comes to term and whole life, there's several different ones. But from what you're saying, I'm leaning towards it being at least a universal life.
Okay.
Yep.
So
That's how I was saying because I got. Remember, I told you I got that. Actually just got that from my boys through you.
yeah, you
I got
did.
the policy through for my boys. I got my twin boys policy through Alonzo, and they're gonna have the same policy as me as kids at 10 years old. Now, just imagine me getting $3 million in my 30-year span, them being 10, and look at how much money they're gonna get at 10 years old from 30 by the time they hit 30, at least 40.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
dude,
I got the application up. It says on the top, I don't know if this will clarify it. It says individual life insurance application. Uh, it's not the annuity corporation. It's the New York Life Insurance Company.
yeah, you might need to talk to Alonzo. I mean, he can probably
Yeah.
look at your
Yeah,
policy because I
talk to them
mean,
behind the scenes. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I do policy reviews and things of that nature as well. So here's the thing. I generally actually like to talk to people who have a policy, because it's easier for me to break down and explain because you already have something covered.
Mm.
So it's an easier concept when I break things down to you, right? So I'll give you an example just in terms of large numbers, and I equate life policies to Mercedes Benzes. For example, I sat with a guy who was like, well, I want a $10 million policy. Now he had an agent from another company who was going to just write him a $10 million 30-year term. Now
Right.
that would have only cost him about $500 a month, something like that. The kid's young. He's like 25, so insurance is cheap when you're younger. Um, but then I showed him the same face amount, with his exact age and height, weight, everything, but the same death benefit of $10 million, and that premium was $36,000 a month. So there's a big difference,
Mm.
in what you're getting, in terms of what it costs. So don't always just look at, well, if the death benefit is this, just like you didn't. You said nothing about dying. You was like, look, if I want to move to Colombia and take X amount of dollars out, I can do such. There's so many more things. So if you do have kids, I can also help you working with your kids. And if you're comfortable,
Yeah.
working with the advisor that you work with, so be it.
Well,
Um,
sorry, just to clarify, they did the spreadsheet where it gave you, if you're on, let's just say 10 years, this would be the amount that you can take out, but this would also be your death benefit amount. And there's also like another policy, like an addition to, where let's just say you were, like, say you injured your back and you couldn't walk, and they would allow you to hire your own health aide, but they would give you $10,000 a month. But you can pay the aide. It could be $200 a week, whatever. But they give you a total of $10,000 a month up until you're better. Up until 10 years, it was like a 10-year window. That was like an addition to the policy. But there was a number for the death benefit, and it was also succinct with the year and what you can pull out, if that makes sense.
right. Well, again, so what he showed you was something called an illustration. And what an illustration is if you've ever had a mortgage, it's the exact same thing as an amortization schedule,
Mm-hmm.
which is why you are able to see at X year you can extract X amount of dollars.
Right.
Again, when you stated something like option A or option B, that leads me to believe that he put you in a universal life, because option B and option A, or option A is level death benefit, option B is increasing death benefit. It leaves the insurance company on the hook for more money. Yes, Karine, I have my channel. It's my name, Alonzo Hall, the All Star Advisor. You can check me out on Instagram, the All Star Advisor, Twitter, Hall _ AKA. Um, but yeah, so what you have, it doesn't seem to be. New York Life is a really good company. Like Jay-Z has his life insurance with New York Life. Um, I know the guy who was Nipsey Hussle's life insurance agent. He was a guy with New York Life.
Mm.
New York Life happens to get into a lot of these places because they spend a lot of money on advertising. So,
Right.
it's just like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is one of the biggest companies, but they spent the most on advertising, like $5 billion last year, right? That's why you know who the hell they are. So,
Right. Right.
you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so things like that, though, those are strategies, right? For example, you can use that policy to purchase property. You can, for example, like she said, he sat with me to get policies on his 2 10-year-olds. So now when they're college age, let's say 20 years old, as opposed to investing in a section 529 and
Mhm.
paying a financial advisor like myself what's called 2 and 20 fees, which is 2% of your net worth annually and 20% of your capital gains. Um, I probably shouldn't tell that. Advisors probably don't like me telling how we get paid, but uh,
No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
yeah.
Oh yeah, you good.
Uh, Instead of paying advisors like myself 2 and 20 fees, you can do like she's doing and fund their college through a life policy, and then you don't also leave them beholden to having to only go to a 4 year accredited university. Let's say he says, Dad, I don't want to go to Harvard or Yale. I would say Harvard is a handicap. I'm from Connecticut, so, I'm a little bit of a blue blood myself.
Okay. Nice.
Um, However, say he says, Dad, I don't want to go to college. I don't even want to go to, learn how to do HVAC. I want to start my own business on Twitch playing Fortnite because that's, something kids do these days. So I want to invest in a TV and this, that, and the third. Well, with that life policy at 20 years old, depending on how it's funded, he can have, let's say, $25,000 liquid to pull out, purchase all these things, start his name, start his logo, start his advertisement, and actually begin his business. Um, so, we have to use these things as tools as opposed to thinking of it as just a death benefit,
Right.
right? To be honest, if it was legal, I would call these wealth contracts. But that's why also when someone says, I sell life insurance, right? I want you to stop looking at them like life insurance is the only thing they can give you. Life insurance is the main thing, just like McDonald's advertises the Big Mac and fries. But when you go there, they have apple slices, ice cream, apple pies, cookies, chicken sandwiches, salads, soda, Gatorade. What else do they have? They used to have mixed spaghetti, mixed pizza, mighty wings, several different burger options. So it's the same thing with a life insurance agent, right? I can help you with your life, your disability, your long-term care, your IRA, your Section 529 college savings plan, all these different products that are actually available to you. But we generally start with life insurance because it's your foundation. So we start there because if I was to be building you a house as an architect, and I
Mm.
started, especially like we do in the black community, I want to invest Dogecoin to the moon, AMC to the moon. That sounds nice, but are you protecting your investment? If I was basically starting with investments is me starting by building your roof. If I started to build your house with the roof and didn't start by digging a hole in the ground and pouring concrete, meaning starting your foundation, you would absolutely fire that architect. And if you didn't, you'd question your sanity.
Right.
However, in the black community, I won't get into investment. Let me show you an article that shows in 2018 the major financial institutions in America combined put $3 billion into basically what's called equity investments without readily determinable fair values, aka the stock market. They put $3 billion. That's a lot of money.
Mm.
However, that same year, they put $22.5 billion into cash value life insurance. So, what is it about cash value life insurance that the banks are doing with your money? Because remember, the banks are only funded by your money.
They can shelter it, right?
Well, yeah, you can put it in tax shelter. That's something called a MEC, a modified endowment contract. But we'll get into that later. That you have to put thousands of dollars away.
Mm.
That's part of the way that people like Donald Trump only paid $750 in taxes. Yet he's a bazillionaire.
Right.
But when I go to the hood, I can't get these dudes to buy a life insurance policy for $100 a month, but they drop bottles on Ciroc. Meanwhile, if you put in Google right now these words, Colombian cocaine cartel life insurance, you will see a New York Times article that's from December 10th, 2002, and it says, "New hiding place for drug profits, life insurance," because five men got indicted for hiding $80 million in Colombian cocaine cartel money in life insurance. Yet I can't get half you niggas in the hood who sell me $100 worth of weed a week to buy $100 worth a month of life insurance. But
You
you
know,
niggas run around talking about the ops got money on my head all the fucking time. Son, I got shot 5 times for not no fucking reason. Y'all niggas better listen to this shit. El Chapo doing this shit.
you know what?
I'm sorry.
When I was talking to the guy when we were doing the policy, that's one of the questions I brought up. I said, because they had like they have 12 payments a year. So I said, well, what if I wanted to like throw 30,000 and just if I came across the money, would I be able to do it? And would that speed up the process to amortize the money? He said no, they kind of used to allow that years ago, but because he didn't really go into detail like you just did with the Colombian cocaine, but I'm guessing he said too many people were doing that, where they were throwing wads of cash into these policies and they were building up um, behind the scenes, so to speak,
Hey, lie.
and they were just
Lie.
going running rampant.
I can
So
do
here's
that
what
with
I'm
my
gonna do.
policy right now.
Here's what I'm gonna do, brother. It's Mr. McFly, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you my information in the back chat. I'm gonna blow it. First of all, how long has your guy been in the industry?
I didn't get all that information, and I just kind of like I went through the whole process. Where you take the blood test and they ask you a bazillion questions.
Uh-huh.
So I just went past the physical part. Let's just say last week,
Okay.
and I
So
stopped.
you haven't, as of yet, accepted the policy.
It's pretty much because I got my results back and everything was perfect. So he said we're gonna fine tune it because originally I was gonna pay for life, and I
Mhm.
thought about it the next day. I thought about it. I said, well, I was planning to more or less move to Colombia in 10 years. So if I was paying into like the 457, I would stop those payments at that point. And obviously, I wouldn't be making payments. So I was like, I called him back and I said, let's just do it for 10 years. And so he brought up the amortization schedule. He said, okay, in 10 years, your death benefit will be this, but then you'll have access to this amount of money if you choose to.
Okay. So
So
you said something that's important. You said you have a lump sum of $30,000. Is that about accurate? Again, let's ballpark because I don't want
yeah,
your personal information out there right now.
I'm just saying if I'm paying on the policy, let's just say 5 years, and I'm paying on time. I asked him, what if I just came upon $30,000? Would I be able to just throw it in there and add to what's already being built? But he said they allowed that years ago. But I guess because with the cocaine stuff, he didn't go into
Mhm.
detail as to why. But now that you brought that up, he was saying, he told me in general, he's like, a lot of rich people were just throwing wads of cash in there and building up all this money, so it was going
Well,
crazy.
what you're asking is still plausible. However, due to the situation in 2002, what they created was something called AML, anti-money laundering.
Mm.
So what happens is, especially after 9/11, they created something called the BSA, the Bank Secrecy Act. Okay, and these are laws that help that require financial professionals like myself to take certain precautions when dealing with the public and when dealing with monies. So anyone, and this is something that you're not going to get told by any bank or financial institution or your advisor.
Mm.
Anytime you transact up to at least $10,000, there's something called an SAR, suspicious activity report, that can and usually is filed against every person who transacts at least $10,000 worth of transactions within a certain period of time. So it's not like you could do 5 grand this month, 5 grand next month, and be all right. You
Mm.
still trigger some shit off to the IRS. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So that's likely one of the reasons that your agent um, explained what he explained to you in such a vague manner. Also, likely he doesn't know. Not to say that it really didn't matter how long his career was. In terms of the experience that I have a lot more experience with just alternative concepts than most agents or advisors. Not to toot my own horn, but it is what it is. So, in terms of that, I love working with other agents as well. because we're all going to improve ourselves. For example, I just signed up for the CAAFP, which is the Conference of African American Financial Professionals. It's a 2-day event. If your agent hasn't signed up for it, maybe when he speaks to you upon what's called delivery. So delivery, the reason I was asking those questions is what happens now is when the policy issues and they take the money, he has to deliver that policy to you. So deliverance of the policy is him bringing it to you and you signing it and saying, okay, I accept, because he's going to either give you another document or e-sign it, because we do a lot of e-sign nowadays because we do business online. And that's you accepting the policy. However, you have something called the 30-day free look period where you can say, okay, I looked at it. You know what? I sat down with Alonzo. He picked this policy apart, blew it up, and actually saved me some premium dollars here, and is increasing my increase because we sat down and had a conversation or not. It depends. Again, it depends on yourself.
Right. Yeah,
However, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, he brought that up because what I was trying to tell him is that by next May, I might want to contribute more to the policy, because what he was saying originally is like, once you make the policy, I guess past, the 30-day period, you would in most cases make a separate policy if you wanted to contribute more money if you had. But he said there's a way where he can start I forget the name, so forgive me, but he said you can do this policy this way, and then we can convert it once you get around that May mark, and you won't.
So then that sounds like a term that you're going to convert to a permanent.
I knew it. I knew it was something when I heard it, because like I told you, when he was explaining the policy, that's why I was like, the one that I got, that universal index, like I can dump as much money. I told you I got Lincoln. So with Lincoln, with them, I started off the policy low because I'm really skeptical. Like my whole thing is to get more policies. And after talking with Alonzo and doing some other, researching, I think I'm just gonna stick with what I got. But the whole point of it is I can always put more money in there. Like that was one of the biggest things with Mitt Romney when he was running for presidency. They was asking him why he had
I
over
was loving when he was running for presidency.
so
He was
much
going to
money.
privatize Social Security, and I was going to sell an ass load of annuities.
Yeah. But he had so much money in his life insurance. And that was one of the biggest questions. Like nobody caught that. Like he had so much money in his life insurance. It was like, why do you have so much money in life insurance? It's like, why not? Why can't I? I think it was like to the sum of over 20 million or something like that.
Wow.
Well, that's easy. So, for example, if I can, and again, I relate a lot of stuff to the Black community because I'm a Black man, so that's the perspective I can speak from. Right. So, when it comes to Black America, there's a study on Yahoo Finance that states that Black people buy more life insurance than white people, but we still have this financial wealth gap, this disparity. Why is that? That's because Black people buy life insurance wrong. I've been doing this for 10 years in New York City. This is what I usually see when I go to a Black household. Either I want the absolute minimum. Oh, well, why does a $100,000 policy cost this much? As opposed to thinking, well, damn, I can leave my next generation for pennies. Because these people would look at me crazy for a $40 a month policy. But these would be the same people senior citizens who spend $40 a day, because I got to play my numbers. You can't win if you don't play. And old Miss Bessie will go to the corner store and play $40 a lotto every day, because if I hit, I take care of my grandbabies, but won't spend $40 a month to know the event that is going to happen. It's guaranteed you're going to die. Ain't no if you don't win, you don't play. I don't know nobody who played the game of life who got out alive. When you meet them, introduce them to me, right? But they'll guarantee and bet so hard on the lottery and won't spend $40 a month on a life insurance policy that's going to guarantee, because everybody dies, that your next generation actually gets some wealth tax-free, hassle-free. It also walks outside of probate, so you actually don't have to have a will. Even though when people die and say real estate is the best, I'm also a licensed realtor, and I have my PTIN, which is my tax preparer's identification number. So like all these businesses intertwine, right?
Nice.
And there's a reason for that. I also have my property and casualty insurance, which is car and business and house insurance. All these, most advisors do. Um, just kind of dabble in a little bit of all. Um, but I'm sorry, I just went off on a rant and lost my
Oh,
my premise there.
you were saying something about. I'm trying to think right before you said that. You was talking about the policy you have, and most grandmothers will not bet on the certainty.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as opposed to, like I was saying, betting on the certainty of that life policy, you'll spend $40 a month on on the lotto. But anyway, so this is why the black community buys life insurance wrong. So we'll buy 1 year's worth of income, right? So the average income in America is 50 grand, 50K. All right, I die, I'll leave my family 50K. Well, the average funeral is 21,000. The average cremation funeral with interment is 7,500. Right? Now, two things happen when a person dies. Not only does their presence die, but their income goes away, right? So now if there's a mother who's taking care of kids, and let's say most people in America, they're a two income household, right? So now the mother and father both will work and making $50,000, $100,000 annual income, but now the father dies. So now not only his presence, but his income goes away. Well, now she has to take up the slack because they used to have a tandem. He would take the kids to school in the morning, she would pick them up at the end of the day. Well, now not only is his money not there, but his presence isn't there. So now that means there needs to be more money because she needs to be able to pay for somebody to do that. But daddy was being cheap and would rather spend money on a whiskey decanter and some blunts than maybe $100 a month on a life policy. Right? So now, just like I talk about my homeboy who left his daughter out for the streets because we was talking about, a lot of these people having conversations about women. I'll talk about that later. But so basically, here's the problem. Black people buy 1 to maybe 2 years worth of income, right? So $50,000, you'll buy a $100,000 policy. That doesn't really make much of an impact as opposed to white families that are generally buy 5 to 8 years of income. Now, the real way to do it is this, 20 years of income. So what does that mean? Well, let's look at it. The average American will be a millionaire in their lifetime. Why do I say that? What's 50,000 times 20? $1 million. Exactly. So the average American will be a millionaire. So the average advisor will say, hey, listen, let's go ahead and cover that. We'll go ahead and give you a $1 million policy. That's $50,000 a year for 20 years, right? Okay, boom. Now, to be honest, that doesn't particularly help you because again in the African American community we like bells and whistles but we don't like to actually use them the right way. It's just like when I equated Mercedes Benzes to life insurance policies to a young black woman and she was like, but who buys a Benz from the dealership? And I was like, what the fuck? When I realized that in the hood if I buy S550 it's from a buy here pay here place. I'm not going to the dealership and actually going to buy a Benz with no budget. Because you don't go to buy a luxury car with a budget. You just go there to get the accoutrement and shit you want, and then they tell you what the price tag is when the car is ready.
Right.
That's kind of how that goes, right? Even like we do it with our Dodges, right? It doesn't even have to be a luxury car. It's the same way with a Jeep or a Dodge or even a like a Mopar pet. Sorry, I like Jeeps.
That's all good.
But so now, right? That's $1 million. I mean, that's $50,000 for 20 years. It's $1 million policy. Now, the proper way to do it is this. We've been in a 1% interest rate money market for the last 60 years. So, again, black people like bells and whistles, so it looks good to tell me, oh, I don't want life insurance. I'd rather have a money market account. Well, it's great you like to have a money market account or a trust fund. But what's the operative word in money market or trust fund? Money and fun. Niggas ain't got either one of those. So, it's just the reality, right? So, how do you fund those things, right? So, the simple way is through things like a life policy. So the proper way to do it is to get a $5 million life insurance policy, and this is just to cover a $50,000 income. So the proper way to do it is to get a $5 million life insurance policy, and when the person deceases and the beneficiary inherits that, they then return to an advisor like myself, and we put that $5 million into that money market account. Now that money market account, again at 1% interest annually, will perpetually give your family $50,000. Because what's 1% of 5 million? $50,000. This is what the fuck I'm talking about generational wealth.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Like that.
So I'm gonna put my information in the back, Mr. McFly.
Mhm.
And I hope to get a call from you, brother, so we can work together. Um, I can work with your other advisor,
Okay.
and we can go from there.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, I'll throw it in the chat, or however you want to do it.
I'm gonna throw it in the back chat right now.
Okay.
You throw it in the
Give me
private
one
chat.
second. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I mean that's what I keep telling guys. I'm like, at the end of the day, man, I told guys, even if I wasn't married, I wouldn't be focused on these women. Like when I wasn't married, dude, you know what my number one thing was? Having jobs. Like literally, I ran a promotion team. I worked at a moving company, and I was doing little side hustles cutting grass. Like literally, I was just moving, doing little odds and ends, young, had a lot of energy doing all type of stuff. Like Roger, I want to say Roger and whoever else was on that panel back knew how much money I capped out at. You know, I told Roger and I on the back panel how much money I capped out before. And I wouldn't personally tell in this space, because when you start telling people you make money and know how much money you make, it start pushing that envy and that jealousy. And man, I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, when it comes down to that, I'm like, it shouldn't be about how much money. I got a partner right now. This guy was making like close to 300,000 a
Whew.
year, and I was sitting there like I was happy for him. Like, dude ended up winning by, like, he literally got 4 properties now. He got me invested in. We finna get ready to invest in one property, and then if this thing takes off, he's gonna do a property a year, and he's just gonna open it up to investors to come in, invest in a property a year, and just sit back and just collect that money. But
Mm.
that's the craziest thing. Even though I'm getting that money, I'm not stopped working. That's the biggest point with people. Once you start getting that subsidized income coming in, you have to still be hungry. See, a lot of guys take their foot off. They take their foot off the gas and start hitting the brake. That's when you lose in society, man, because you got to always get on the next hunt. That's one thing my friend who makes a lot of money we talk about. He only deal with movers and shakers. You know, that's the biggest aspect of him. Like right now, he does IT for the military. He does their networking to the point where he's steady moving and shaking. He's always trying to find the next biggest thing. You know, he's in the process now. Me and him talking because I do a little handyman work. He wants to learn how to build a house. How many guys that study or deal with IT or want to start using their hands? A lot of guys don't want to do that. They'll pay somebody to do it. But you got to understand, when the road meets the pavement, you got to be able to get down there and get in with the best. Like Uru said, he know he can change the oil, put in some cabinets. Not necessarily saying if he got to do it, he got to do it. But if he got to pay somebody, he know it's done right because he knows the
Right.
functionality of that position. You know.
And now, by Alonzo coming up, that's understanding that obviously he's more advanced in this financial market thing, and the hierarchy is that we defer to him when it comes to that type of thing, and a lot of black men have a problem with listening to someone who obviously might know more in a certain subject than you do, because it'll turn to this ego. Nah, but my policy, like, no, like, this is how you learn. Especially this is how you learn to the point where you can explain it to somebody else. That's the thing. Like, I don't know it enough to explain it to the level of that. So my ears had to go up and be like, okay, like, I'm getting it. I'm new to this, but my mindset is to be even into this, where a lot of people, like you said, I always call it like the shiny belt buckles. and the swagnificance, because that seems to be the Jordans and the PS5s. Like, they put value on that, not understanding that this is where this is and like Rael said, this is where it all starts with the money. It doesn't
Yeah.
end with the money, but you have to be in position to move. You got a lot of people that's stuck in the mud, and they want to move, and they're yelling from a sinking mud hole, I got game, I got swag, but you're sinking, you're in mud, and if you even wanted to move, you can't. So that's no way. I'd rather be in a position where I'm able to move, and then being able to move, whatever I need to improve, whether it be anything, clothing, cologne, game, or whatever you want to call it, you're still in the position where you can go in any direction if you wanted to. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing here. They thinking, I think it's like a lot of black men put, just like a lot of black women do, they put the baby before the marriage. I think a lot of black men put the women before the business and the actual important stuff.
You know what I call the Apple phone? I tell people Apple phone is nothing more than a high price Gucci belt. You're paying for the Apple just like you're paying for the G and the Gucci.
Right.
There's no big bells and whistles that Apple phone has. You're mostly paying for the status of which the name brand. And a lot of people get into these whole name brand politics and everything. They lose sight of what's really important. That's why when Alonzo came to the space and he started talking certain things, I knew what he was talking about. And when we had our discussion, that's why I was like, I already knew from the jump I could deal with him easily on the premise of a lot of the policies I actually have. I technically have all three of the policies. I have a term, I have a whole life, and I have universal life. So technically, quiet as kept. Like when he was talking about most of this stuff, I'm like he know what he's talking about. The biggest thing that was sold to me, what made me get into life insurance, was the whole policy that I can take out money and give myself a loan. That was sold me more than anything, because I have to literally go to the bank, fill out an application for a loan. They deny my loan.
Run your
Several
credit.
years, I can have good credit. Same thing, keep applying. The redlining is not over. It's different ways of doing it. But the point, if I can go ahead and give myself a loan, throughout other ramifications that I can do as well, like that's one more notch on my belt to make my family succeed. A lot of guys, I tell them, if you don't have a family, you have to succeed in life being a single man, so you still have to put things in play for future gains. I don't live in the now, live in the future, man. That's why I tell these guys so many times, when it comes to the women, I don't understand. I got guys, they single, they don't care about these women. They out here getting their money. That's why I keep trying to push guys. I tell my son has 2 jobs in college. He's like, man, I kick it with a chick. If I kick it with her, I don't. Oh well. He's like, man, I'm out here getting my money. These chicks, they out here trying to run game. My son had the same game ran on him that was happening to me when I was younger. A girl tried to run game on me about buying her some Jordans, and all her boyfriends buy her Jordans. I looked at her, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And then my son had the same issue. A girl tried to talk, I think it was like Chanel or some Coach purses, to where she showed him a whole bunch of purses, and he's like, dang, you got a lot of purses. She's like, yeah, my boyfriend's bought me this. So basically, she tried to run that same game, like, yeah, if you're gonna be my boyfriend, this is what you gotta do. And my son was like, man, the cheapest purse she had in there was probably like, I want to say at least $600. And that was probably like a clutch purse. Those bigger bags, man, they dominate in price.
Yeah, and it's like when you put yourself, I'm always about putting yourself in a position of winning. And I always say, when you're in a position of winning, and like I said, I travel overseas, so just to be over there, the women generally understand, like, it kind of costs a lot to, especially in their money, to even be in their country and to live a decent lifestyle in a whole nother country. So just by you putting yourself in a position to even do that, to be around those women, it's a different dynamic. And after going through being around situations like that, and then having to come back and to deal with the same type of thing your son and you like these women, they this westernized by me because I deserve it or I'm entitled to attitude. It's just like it actually forces me to go harder to get these things. So when I actually do pull that trigger and I do make that move to go, I'll know that, like I said, if something falls in my lap in New York City, great, cool. But you still got to be careful, even if it does fall in your lap, because the whole Me Too thing and the allegations, and then depending on how crazy the chick is, if she finds out that you actually do have something going for yourself, she can actually try to jam you up in other ways. So even with that, you still got to be careful to some degree.
So let me ask you something. You said you're in New York City.
Yeah.
In terms of chicks, because I met my wife obviously in Brooklyn, and I just left from living in Brooklyn for about a decade.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of, because here's something that I challenge people to look at. What are you looking for when you're looking for those women? Do you know?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I am not looking in America. Like I see stuff as I'm walking, and if I go to a friend's party, there will be attractive women there. But
Right.
I am not looking at all.
That's a great answer, but that's not my question.
Okay, go ahead.
Regardless of where you're looking for them, what are you looking for in a woman?
If just the simple things, because most women, outside of the simple things, cannot, in my estimation, provide anything beyond that. So basically, someone obviously femininity, fitness, friendly. Those are the basics. That's like cars coming with tires. Like that's so it's like when I say that, it's like I expect that like off the rip. Like that's not like a feature, But other than what's the basic, I guess I would say someone, because I'm into a lot of different things. So someone who would support my businesses or my ideas or the direction I'm looking to go in, and not really question. It's like, if you don't know more than me, I don't want to hear about how you feel about it if you've never done it. If I'm currently doing something or I'm already paving that road that's going down the hill in a certain direction, like get on board,
Right.
man the sails or something. Don't sit up there while I'm at the wheel trying to fight for the wheel. So basically, I guess people call that like cooperation, and just knowing the dynamic of the relationship. Because I'm used to the foreign thing at this point. So the whole I'm a boss bee, hot girl, simmer down this and shiny belt buckles. That's
Everybody seems to have cut off there for a moment.
yeah.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Like that's not a lane, only because I've actually seen when you go outside, like maybe when I was young or something like that, that would have been something cool to look at. Yeah, as a kid, whatever. But again, once you travel, once you've been through the building your businesses or business, building it up, the sacrifice you have to make, you understand. Because again, I'm going to keep it 100% real. Back before all this, maybe my mindset was like, man, if I make more money, I'm going to get 10 more bitches and it's going to be crazy. but the reality of the situation is totally different. I'm going to tell you,
you don't have the time for that.
Not only do you not have the time, but if you are actually building yourself, building your business and putting yourself on the path, no kids, that type of thing, and you see like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, you quickly realize that you have to curb your enthusiasm, because if you make a misstep in this current world, you can, all that stuff that you've been working for can go up poof and smoke. So it becomes like I thought I was going to be doing certain activities and slinging this and slinging that, but now, whoa, wait a second, nah, I can't dip my stick in any type of chocolate vat because it might come up with flies or something. Like, whoa, slow it down.
Yeah.
So now my perspective is like, okay, what what can happen. So like I said, if it falls in your lap, great. I'm still not sold on the laws here in America, so I don't foresee anything getting to that point where, because I don't, my whole thing is I don't want to give somebody legal access over my investments, money. I don't want to be able to be forced to do anything that I don't want to do. I mean, I can always, I guess, put my assets into some type of blind trust, or I'm probably didn't say the name right, but I
I
can.
always often wonder when people say that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've realized that almost 70% of transactions on the planet are done in US dollars. So it becomes very difficult to even get out of this system. Not saying it's not possible, plausible, because there's that other 30% that obviously operates outside of, like Libya, outside of, So I'm not disagreeing with it. I wonder, just with the percentages, how easy that realistically can be. You know what I mean?
Well, it depends on like any property that I got. I made sure I got it before. Obviously, I married or been with anybody, so nobody can take that away. That's locked in. Moving forward, I do want to purchase. I probably want to ask you behind the scenes if I can do I think it's called a 1031. I forgot the name, but
1031 exchange.
yeah, 1031 exchange, because long story short, I might want to take one of my properties, sell it, but instead of paying capital gains tax on it, is it possible? I don't know if it is or isn't. I still have to do my research, or you might know. Is it possible to take those profits is it a certain time, or is it not possible at all to buy a property overseas and not pay capital gains on that profit? I don't know the answer to that question yet. I'm still trying to find that out. But
So now you're talking about international real estate.
yeah.
Ironically enough, you're lucky because I've had experience with Coldwell Banker, one of the largest realtors on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't particularly know that answer, but I have contacts who deal with international real estate who may know that answer.
Well,
So get in touch with me, and then I'll have an incentive to reach out to them.
Yes, we definitely, because I travel to Colombia all the time. Some people might know me. Sometimes I used to be on Soul TV for I hop on Edward Anderson's show here and there. I love that place. But I've been going and I've been making connections there, and I haven't nailed it down how they do real estate, but what I'm hearing is for the most part they kind of want you to come with most of the money in bulk. Whereas the U.S., you can do the FHA or you can do a conventional loan, you pay 20% down. But the thing is, my credit is excellent in the USA, but it means nothing over there. So what I did, a friend of mine who has a business over there, he was able to actually start my Banco Colombia account overseas. And he said within 5 years, that'll put me on the path to residency, because it'll be like I have some type of cachet in the country, as opposed to somebody who's just come in bare bones. So that's something I put into play. But I also heard if you spend more than 120,000 USD, like on a property, they can kind of fast track your dual citizenship. But I'm still, in the process of nailing down what exactly it is. I have time. It's not like a rush or anything like that. But
Right.
that's one thing. Well, but getting back to your question, you were saying that what do I looking for in a woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I've been exposed to, and I put the air quotes, real femininity. So
Okay.
anytime I come across, again, I was at a party, everybody was professional. It was 28 to 35 ish range of women. Everybody had a somewhat good career, but it was just that taintness of the westernized woman. To a certain degree when it came to the black women there. Because most of the black women there had their little gay friends, which gives them validation. Oh yeah, the quick side note, the guy who did my policy said it's a custom whole life policy. You just
Okay.
just a little update with that. They had the validation of the gay friends, which act as a proxy to kind of buffer you away from them. Which was fine because I wasn't really trying to talk to him anyway. And I just noticed like the dynamic is, and this holds true for most, from what I saw in America, black women. If you physically fit the profile, um, then everything else, whether you have a job, whether you have a game, or you can have 10 bazillion properties or nothing, it doesn't matter. What seems to matter in our community is looks first, and then we'll figure it out after I have the baby, which usually leads in disaster after that. And you can see by all these Kevin Samuel shows night after night. Um,
Exist.
so knowing that, just knowing that truth, and again, I'm not the type of guy. I like to be low key. You know, so when I was there, as I was explaining to Rael, I was just a photographer guy. Hey, how are you? Hey, you want some pictures? Yeah, yeah. Okay, right here. Come on. So I played the role of just a
I'm
photographer
sorry.
guy, unassuming. You know, but only after they were impressed with the quality, because I
Right.
pictures came out crazy. But then they obviously, once they checked out like my Instagram, they were like, wait a second, wait,
Oh, he's serious business.
like,
So
oh
here's why I asked what I asked.
yeah,
Because here's what often happens with a lot of the men in these spaces on the Kevin Samuel shows, etc. And this is coming from, again, the perspective of a currently married man. We're coming up on, what, 4 or 5 years now. We got married in 2017.
right,
We've been together since 2008. But when I say what you're looking for, you actually have at least a solid foundation outside of, like you said initially, that's like a car coming with tires. You
right,
actually had another level deeper. And the reason I ask that is because often the women will come with specifics. I want, even though it's crazy, they want the 666, the six
yeah,
foot six, whatever, $6 million man, all this other stuff, right?
right, right,
But at least there's a finite or a definite uh, 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 thing there. With a lot of the men, what I've noticed is there's not a finite or a definite thing. They just want a car with tires. Okay, well, I get it. Or, these cars are coming without tires, but, you know, realize that cooking and cleaning is something that as men we need to be able to do as well. Because if we're looking at scooping up women 18 to 30, well, at 18 to 30 as men, we're not built or financially ready to get that woman that's 18 to 30. So we got to wait till we're 35. Well, so from 18 to 35, we got to be cooking and cleaning for ourselves. Or are we going to be slobs with no money because we spent it all on dominoes? You
right,
see what I'm saying?
yeah, hmm
Yeah.
So, so
and two,
it's
yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Now, I was saying too often what I see the fallen soldiers on the battlefield where, he was doing good. He was getting towards the finish line. Wait, he's got 2 more inches, and then he has a baby with Sham Keisha.
Mm.
Yeah,
Or
but
so
I want to let me say something to that real quick. I always talk about this about guys when they do that. I just I call it the oops baby, you know,
Okay.
because you didn't want to have a relationship with the chick because she had a fat ass. You just wanted to have sex with her, and there goes the oops baby. To an extent, you could wear a condom and it might not never happen, you know, but if you're taking marriage or relationship serious, you got to cut those type of women off. I mean, I was talking earlier and I was saying about that. I mean, it's okay to bang if you having sex just to have sex, cool. You protecting yourself. You're not trying to have a kid. You're just trying to bust one off. Cool, no problem. But to the issue at hand, when you're up here, trying to get into a relationship, that's what I was saying. Just leave most of them women alone, man. It ain't worth the
Mm.
time. You know,
yeah,
like with my
because
wife. I'm gonna say this real quick. My
yeah,
wife, for instance, when I met her, we started talking. I knew what I wanted, and not just the cooking and cleaning. I wanted to, pretty much. I always every woman I deal with, I give them almost like a Carfax of all the stuff I see about them, all the stuff I want to know about them, and are they willing to change? 9 times out of 10, most of all the girls I dealt with, I dealt with some plus size women as well. And I told them all, you have a choice in the matter. Are you willing to change to be with me? A lot of them, they give you that smoke and mirror. Yeah, or they just say, "Well, why I got to change for you? What am I getting out of the deal right now?"
Mm.
You know, and that was always the end result. You know, I dealt with a woman that had weight. I told her, "You're gonna get fat when you have a child. So if you can't lose the weight now, I can't see myself marrying you. Can't see myself keep dealing with you." You know, good girl, wholesome attitude. She was big and she automatically said, "I'm already big, so I can't have an attitude. I gotta look good. I gotta dress good." She said, "I gotta keep my hair and nails done. I gotta do everything 10 times more than the average skinny woman. So I have to put myself on a higher scale more than the average woman. Plus, I have to be nicer than them and know how to cook because I eat and know how to
Mhm.
take care of myself and clean." So I was like, "You the perfect wife. Like, why haven't you got married?" But the thing is, she didn't want to lose the weight. So that's why she stayed single.
Yeah, women don't seem to understand that the same way they look at us as success objects, we look at them as obviously sex objects. So just how they have their triggers that turn them on, so to speak, like, yeah, guys 6 feet tall, six figures, and 6 inches or whatever.
Mhm.
We have the same basic triggers for us as well in terms of what gets our gears grinding. And so, too many times, these females, but I have a degree and I'm educated. Like, I had to tell this one girl years ago, and this is before I was red pill and all that type of stuff. I just knew. She was like, "I'm educated. I went to Buffalo University, whatever it was called." And I was like, "Yeah, but you're working retail. So that 4 years that you put in for your international degree, well, how's that working for you?" And then she's like, "Well, I'm educated." I said, and this again, I was like, "Don't nobody give a F about your education. Who cares? Well, how does that benefit me? Like, you're not breaking bread with me. You're not investing with me, because how it goes is your money is your money. My money is my money and your money. That's, not to say that I would follow that dynamic to the T, but this is what they expect. So you coming to the table with your finances and your knowledge means nothing. So I don't look for an airhead, but at the same time, I already know, like, her finances are inconsequential to where I'm going. So I have to calculate everything based upon my gross and what's going out and into where. I can't even begin to factor her little. I'm not saying every girl works retail, whatever, but I rarely find uh, a woman who makes over $50,000 who you can actually talk to for more than 3 to 5 minutes. I
Understood.
rarely do. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but the field. One of the fields that I'm in is obviously photography, video. So I'm a lot around a lot of range of women, from some
Mm.
that make a lot of money, so some that kind of make minimum wage, and some that don't even have a job. So my interaction with women is I would say is beyond just I'm going outside with the shiny belt buckle. I'm at the club and throwing up hundreds. Like, not my interactions on a different level where I see them literally, I guess you could say, at their most vulnerable point where they complain like, "Oh, I'm fat." Like, the girl could be a perfect 10, but she's
What borough are you in, if
said,
you don't mind? What borough are
"Oh,
you in?
Brooklyn." I was going to tell you that earlier because you say you're from Brooklyn. So,
Yeah. So, like, I most recently left, I guess you would call it Brownsville, Ocean Hill, over
mhm.
by Eastern Parkway, Herkimer Street.
Okay.
Herkimer Street now has a luxury condo that's listed by Ryan Serhant, $1 million listings. But it used to be the hood, obviously, if you know Eastern Parkway, right?
Mhm.
Um, but then initially where I lived, I thought was the Cosby block. So this was four of the best blocks in Bed-Stuy over by Boys and Girls High, Bainbridge between Lewis and Stuyvesant. So you had like Eric Adams who lived over there, other politicians, the Brooklyn assistant DA. It was black wealth. Jackie Robinson was actually the first black person to buy his house on that 4 blocks. I think it was DCAB.
Right.
Um, but so, part of that is that's where I met my wife, and she comes from that ilk and that family style. So often when I ask, what are you looking for in the woman? Uh, Often not only does it come down to vetting her, but it comes down to vetting her family, and that's I think a boat that often we miss. because we haven't been taught to vet a family, right? So
Mhm.
there's a big issue that happens, especially in the black community when it comes to the youth, right? And the girls are expecting guys to have all this money as if we're like trust fund babies. But a lot of that comes from uh, the aspect of generational wealth, right? Brad's dad left him something. Like, I'll give you an example. My brother went to Manhattanville College, Manhattanville University in White Plains, New York. His best friend's first car was a fire engine red Ferrari,
Mm.
right? Because these people had money. You know what I mean? His girl that he messed around with, one Miss Hawaii, her parents for her birthday bought her an island. So these are the type of things that this is why the women are expecting at 17 you to have something, because they're expecting your daddy to have had something and your daddy to have had passed down something, like a lot of other cultures do. Now, oftentimes when we say, oh, you're comparing it to white people, we are obviously not comparing it to your average or your poor white people. We're comparing it to your wealthy or your elite. But then if you look at, statistics in America, white people are getting their ass kicked too. Asians have the most money in America right now. I think it's Asians and then Indians. You know what I mean? Then Nigerians. African American and white folk, we kind of broke together right now. So it's a strange dynamic that's going on in this country.
It's
Um,
it's most white people are quickly starting to realize that they actually have more in common with the average black person when it really gets down to it, and it's going to get there because the people, and I tell everybody, well, you used to live in Brooklyn, and and I said it before, $100,000 in Brooklyn or New York City is for
nothing.
a single person is really kind of middle class in terms of, I'm just looking at it, if you have an apartment and that you're paying in general for, let's say a one bedroom in a decent neighborhood, you're looking at least 18 to 2,000 a month. Then you got to figure
Yeah.
car insurance. Now, everybody likes to have the, whatever. If you have a halfway decent vehicle, maybe semi. I'm not even going to go there. I was about to go to Pookie and Ray Ray, but let's just say halfway decent vehicle, late year model car. You're looking at if you're financing it, because most people don't have the cash to buy it outright. So you're financing probably maybe, let's just say anywhere from $450 to $500, and you probably got to pay full coverage insurance. And depending on your driving history, most people have an accident too. I have zero, but most people do. So you're looking at least just on the car alone, let's just call it even $750 a month.
Yeah, easily.
Gas, holes, shiny belt buckles going out. Like before
I
you know
love
it,
the shiny belt buckle.
I love it. Before you know it, you look that 100,000 after it's taxed. We're not even talking about if you're in a union or if you're taking out medical insurance. We haven't even gotten to that. We're not even talking about cable bill, toiletries, food. That $100,000 pretty much is sustainable in New York. I'm sure in other states, whatever, but in big metropolitan,
Yeah, New York.
that it doesn't do it. So when I see women on these shows saying, or just in general, I gotta have a guy who's you're basically looking for a 5 to 1% man, and I'm like, other than sex, why would he entertain you? And to be honest with you, why would a guy on that level even want to entertain you? Because, like I said before, I used to think a certain way until I actually started being more successful. And then when things started to happen, I said, whoa, whoa, I can't play in those play boxes I used to play in. I kind of have to reevaluate things. And then that's when this whole, for me, traveling and just seeing, because once you have money to travel, you're curious, like, oh man, I've never been here.
Yeah.
I've never tried that food. And then when you get there, you see the women. You're like, wait a second. Everybody.
So in terms of reevaluation, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Good.
Here's one thing that I did notice that we have to be cognizant of, and you don't know it until you don't know it. And here's what we weren't cognizant of. One of the things that you stated. Now you're successful in business currently. One of the things that you stated was, what you were looking for in a woman is to be able to be there and play a support role in your endeavors. Now, one of the things that I noticed, for example, KS state is, well, if he's already there, why does he need you? And you know, I want you to realize that I'm just from our conversation qualifying some of the high value man concepts as we speak. Right. So, as someone who's likely cut of that cloth, I don't know if you're a Henry or a hit squad or what have you at the moment, but you're sounding of that cloth. Does that make sense?
Yes, you would be correct. You know,
Okay.
but the thing is, and I tell people all the time, what comes in and what I prioritize on what I actually spend and goes out, I'm very unassuming, and it's by design because
Mm.
I understand. Yeah, I don't want to say it again, but I can have different color shiny belt buckles for every day, but I understand the end game. If we're going to just tie this into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I understand what the end game is. That's not to say I'm a tech guy, so I do spend money on good mics, preamp, computers, studio equipment, because I have a whole nother business, photography, music, video. So I am a tech guy. I put air quotes. So I do tend to spend good money on good equipment, but that's also an investment in myself, which I also write off. So it's
Mhm.
dual strategy with that. But I understand stepping back because I have family members. I've been in the hood. I've been in the middle class neighborhoods, and where I currently am right now. So I understand the dynamic of each sector and what's boots on the ground, so to speak. It's not theory. A lot of guys, when they talk, it sounds like talking points, but they've never experienced, which is why sometimes I laugh at these game gurus because they talk about all these women that they could get, but then when you actually ask for the proof of the women they have currently now, it's like some beluga whale, as Minister Jap would say. It's like something. It's like, wait a second, what is the point in having all this game if you're currently with this? When I don't necessarily call myself a game guru or nothing like that, I just put myself in position. But my receipts look more receivable than what you're showing, and I don't have to label it as game or anything like that. It's just, see, the thing is, when you have life experience, your game becomes more organic and becomes natural. But that's going to require you to fail. That's going to,
Well, see, here's the thing, though, too. You're in New York,
yeah.
and New York is a different beast. So, like, when men are in there's dude, it's so different in New York than the rest of the world.
I
Like the
agree.
rest of the
We're
country,
on a
like it's
whole nother speed level over here.
yeah, it's like yeah, it is. It's like speed, dude, in New York. Like it's super fast compared to everything else. So, even your interactions with women are just gonna be on a whole different level. Your comfort level just absolutely changes. The fact that you end up having to deal with hot women all the time. Like I remember my first day when I was doing fix and flips in 2013 with this company called My Ideal Property, right? My first deal was 80 grand, but I was so freaking scared. It was a property on Saratoga Avenue. It was like 1.2 mil,
Right.
right? But our cut, everything would have been like 80 grand for the company. So I was like, okay, cool. So both of the principals of the company didn't show up to the appointment. And I'm like, dude, I understand that I've done insurance, but I've never done real estate, and I don't have my real estate license at the time. Now I do. But at the time, I didn't have my real estate license, and this chick was smoking hot. And I'm like, okay, so at this time, y'all are like putting me into a trick because at that moment that she comes in, everybody decides to leave the office. So it's just me and her in the office, and my heart is beating, and her breasts are out, and I can't stop from staring. And I'm like, holy shit, how am I supposed to do? I don't even know the first thing, but I got her to sign the contract.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I was like, look, I don't care how hot you are. At the end of the day, I got this contract to sign. And if I want your hot ass to want me more, $80,000 to do that. So
Right. You're in position, and she knows you're in position. That's the key. Like
exactly.
wait a second. Like, I might not know too much about this guy, but he's closing on cribs like this. Let me invest. See, that's my whole thing. I want a woman who would invest in you, because if it's one-sided and you're investing in them, they don't tend to take it seriously. It's something as simple as, it could be like, let's just say you live in Brooklyn, she lives in Staten Island. Okay, I'm just gonna call it like that.
Mhm.
And say you want to go out and have some drinks. So instead of you going to Staten Island and going around the corner from her house, it would be smarter if you come to a neutral location in the city, because that way she would have to invest her time, take the toll, and take the time to drive or take a cab and spend some time and investment to get there. So now she's going to appreciate, because now she feels invested. It's not even just about me. She feels invested, as opposed to you meeting her downstairs and walking around the corner. At that point,
Right.
take her drinks and toss you to the side. Doesn't matter, you know. So like, but what I'm saying is, you're in position, because now let's just say future reference, you see her out somewhere, or you have mutual friends. Now, because you're in the same circle and she saw you active, now that conversation is less more of an icebreaker, because she kind of knows for you to be there, you have to be of some intelligence and of success. So now
Exactly.
conversations smoothed out. But the problem that we have, in my opinion, I'm just giving an opinion. Problem that we have is too many guys not even in position. And so what you create a dynamic where most of the women are getting used to seeing guys not being in position. So now by default, their attitude is such. So now you have this overcompensation when you go to
Mhm.
lower income situations. When you go to the club, that's when the shiny go. When the next time these guys are listening, when they go to, I know they go to a strip club. Don't act like they don't. Next time you go to a strip club, look for the shiny belt buckles. And people with the bravado, look at me, look at me. See that's me. That's like apism. Like, it's like, me have money. I have come, like this. That's what it's on right now. And I'm like, when you go to different countries, it is the polar opposite. The thing is,
Yeah.
like, let's just say I go to Colombia and I go eat at this restaurant called Colossal. It's like very kind of exclusive. Now, in terms of USD money, it's not that expensive. But if I was to live in Colombia, making Colombian wage, that'd probably be like a once in every 3 month type of restaurant. So you go into a place like that, you might have a button down shirt, nice pants. Actually, over there, just a little pro tip: depending on the countries that you guys go to, don't wear short, because a lot of times the men and people in that country view grown men having shorts as children, which
Yeah.
basically signals to the people that you're not from there, because
Mm.
no grown men would wear a baseball cap to the back in shorts. They usually wear, like, sneakers, jeans, not shorts. So I got put on that through my Colombian friend, and I asked them, like, well, how do people spot, gringos or people who are not from the country? They said the number one thing, people tend to wear shorts and caps turned to the back. They associate that with like adolescence
Americans.
behavior. So
Mm.
that's just a
They,
pro
they
tip.
yeah, they do that back in the day with the when you were young men. My granddad, all of them, they told me that they couldn't wait till as you were little kids to get a pair of pants.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Wow.
saying?
But all too often, guys go traveling and they think, "Oh, I'm just going to wear my Jordan jersey in the middle
Mhm.
of a Latin country that only plays soccer," and like, they don't put it together. I'm like, "Oh man, you don't."
Wow. I never thought of
No,
that.
that's like, could you imagine? That's like, say you go to New York, right, and somebody wearing uh,
Boston.
like a dashiki in the most odd place, and you literally gonna look at them like, what are
A
they doing?
dashiki in the Diamond District. Like,
Yeah, it's gonna look so out of place. It's just gonna attract unwanted attention. And then on top of that, if you have shiny watches, or some people think that, see, over here, people get mesmerized by shiny things, shiny cars, shiny
yeah.
jewelry. See, over there, people are not that loud with their money. They're actually more conservative. So a rich person is probably going to be dressed in the most plain, nondescript outfit possible, because they don't want all that attention. Because, like somebody said before, I don't know if it was on this panel or the other one, a bullet, it doesn't care about how much money you have in the bank account. And so
True.
you're not shielded because you're from America and you know all the hood guys. None of that matters. You can get stuck up by kids in Colombia, and this has happened. Like,
Yeah.
literally, I remember O'Shea had a show on these guys stunting and doing all this stuff, and I commented. I was like, listen, just as, because I'm in Colombia, I said, do not go there and toss money on the table, even if you know women, because let's just say the women that you know are good women, but they have grimy friends. And they're like, oh, look at my friend. They're like, oh, who's that? Oh, where's he staying? And these guys actually got robbed in their apartment. They were doing that. They were flashing money. And then word got out, kind of like the same way Pop Smoke got hit. And they found the guy's address and he robbed them. And it was probably some skinny looking Colombian kids, because these guys are not really built like us in America where we have all this protein. It'll be a skinny kid that will rob you with a gun in Colombia. And all that toughness, that alphaness goes out the window. Trust me.
Right.
But yeah, that's just to bring it back to what you were saying before. I just think that's the dynamic. And you could choose to participate. I mean, you found the wife, which is good on you. But that you've been with her, you said 8 years, right?
We've been together 13 in total, yeah. So we've been together a long time, since '08. But like I said, man, a lot of it also didn't come through just, I gotta hop off soon, my phone is at 5%.
Yeah.
But in terms of vetting, right? So I vetted her family and realized, okay, when I met her mother was a financial advisor with Morgan Stanley. Her stepfather works at Columbia University. Her father was a diamond cutter and a tech at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. Right? Her older brother was a street nigga, but there's a black sheep everywhere, right? But her other older brother was a mechanic. So there's all these working class and white collar people. So when I step on the scene, I can't just, I had to realize that, okay, like if you're familiar with over by Boys and Girls High School, I don't know how long you've been in Brooklyn, but that area is not inexpensive. And when you mention, like those rents, bro, when I was doing real estate back in 2017, I had 1 bedrooms on Clarendon Road for $1,900. So, like, I know it's only going up because this is 5 years later. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, way up.
And that's Flatbush. That's not, Bed-Stuy or East New York. Like, I was gonna buy a property on in East New York on Pennsylvania Ave. I think it was 660 Pennsylvania Ave. I can't remember the exact address now because we didn't close on it, so don't quote me on that address. But it's 600 something Pennsylvania Ave. The property was $850. We agreed to $800. Then my mother-in-law didn't want to give up the $80,000 from her 401k to put the down payment on the home, so we didn't get the home. Tchotchke happens, right?
Right. Over there, it's probably at 1.3 right now.
Oh, it's way above that at this point. Like I said, that was 5 years ago in 17.
Yeah.
And the other broker was paying 2%, so I got a $16,000 check off of that. I was like, yo, I could have paid for the mortgage for 4 months myself, prior to getting tenants. You know what I'm saying? Right. But you live and you learn. And since that same mother-in-law, like I said, that was with Morgan Stanley, has retired from Morgan Stanley and allowed me to put roll over $100,000 of her retirement. So she only let me hold $100,000, saying I'll just let you take this small amount because that was her smallest retirement account. But to get an ex-financial advisor to give you $100,000, especially when it's your mother-in-law, is a big thing. If anybody's married, even though your mother-in-law loves you, to get her to part with her daughter is one thing, but to get her to part with her money is a whole nother story.
I'm sure you turn that over and she's happy,
Oh yeah, no, she's very, listen, it's going at 3%, bro. Everybody's happy with 3%.
Yeah.
We're in a 1% market rate. Yeah, everybody's happy with 3%. It's tied to the S&P. So she's very happy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm waiting to see what's going to happen in September when all these moratoriums and all this unemployment stuff runs out. Because I don't know if you've seen, like, they have the videos now with people doing transactions in the middle of New York City traffic, daytime. Like it's getting to the point. There was a week ago that BGS Igmore, he put up a video of like literally West Fourth Street strippers naked on the poles out there, literally on the poles. Like it's getting there, and being as though everything's being decriminalized, it's going to kick up to another level because again, winter is coming. Like that's going to be the phrase for the next few months, and there is no shelter because I know I don't have a shelter for anybody. So I can only imagine, when the rent's due, the bill is due, and there's only but so many times you could fool me, fool a cat or whatever you might say. I think in general, most men, not all, but most men have gotten wise to the jig, and the jig is up. And it's just interesting, and I know that because I see it on the faces. Because before, most women were bragging about dates they were going on and Tinder dates and how I was getting this guy to buy me drinks. Those days are over. You don't even you hear more now about women complaining about not being approached, about looking cute and nobody saying anything, than the opposite. Because remember, 3 years ago, it was all about Me Too and what was it called? Street harassment, right? Now we're having the street unharassment complaints. Nobody's talking to me. So I'm just saying this is all leading to somewhere. And I made the comparison, I think, in the other stream about it's like the Loki series where you had Sylvie, I think I said the name wrong, Sylvie and Loki at the end with King the Conqueror, He Who Remains. So they were figuring out what to do. And Uru, I compared to Loki, as he was more tempered, like, wait, we don't want to depose the dictator because, we don't want the other kings from the other realities to take over and start chaos. And Sylvie was like, F that, I'm killing them. And bang, did it. So now we're like Tony Stark said, or not Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, he says, we're in the end game now. Or maybe I confused that too. But when we are in the end game, literally, of that movie, and I'm actually excited to see what's going to happen. I personally want it to burn down, because I want to see it burn down to build up, and I think that's the only way, because we did everything. You tried to negotiate with terrorists. We tried, we had 40 years of Oprah, Ricky Lake, this and that, talk shows, baby, baby, please, R&B songs. It's dead. It's over. The new crew, the millennials, they're not having it. They're coming up in a world where the internet was there. We kind of grew up into the internet, so we kind of remember what it was to like meet people and talk to them face to face. This Instagram world and this new technology has opened up the world for both places. So a woman in Wisconsin who is cute in her own town, now she has access to Little Uzi Vert or Lil Wayne or James Harden, because he'd be everywhere paying for it. And then it works in reverse the same way with the guy. So if you have your thing together, I can't tell you how many times my phone went off just having these conversations with the girls in Colombia, messaging me, whether it be directly or through a friend that they've heard about me. Hey, how you doing? Like the world is opening up. So my only message to everybody, who's listening is like, if you put yourself in position, it's like you're giving yourself the opportunity to be in a successful situation, whether that be financial or relationship wise, but you got to be in the position first. I mean, that's just my thought on it, my 2 second thoughts.
Yeah, my bad, Cam.
That's all good.
I mean, but I'm about to get ready to go ahead and end this because I've been trying to put it off going to this other panel, man. I'm supposed to been over there to Perfect Timing podcast.
Oh
So for
shit.
everybody still listening, yeah, I'm supposed to be over there perfect time and mess. I troll over there with him. I tell him if he don't have no good topics and he ain't talking about nothing, I'm gonna troll his page.
All right, perfect timing. Maybe I'll head over there too just to see what's up. I'm just in the studio right now. I got the mic. I'm supposed to be doing music, but I kind of got derailed. But it's
Yeah,
all right. Maybe I'll just pop in there, see what's good. You know.
yeah, man.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I
when it come
appreciate.
down to it, man, go
Mm.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I appreciate you having me on. I'm kind of new to the space. I've been popping up here and there. Um, I'm just like, just sharing my thoughts. Sometimes it can be unpopular. Um, but you have a space and other people got a space where everybody can get off what they're thinking about. And that's cool with me, because
Yeah,
I don't think, I always think it's like good to like talk to people, but I'm always scared about rooms where everybody's agreeing on everything. And it's like, then it becomes like one big circle jerk. Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. Like, nah, I like it to be like different, not just to be different, just to be different, but if people actually disagree on topics, like put it out on the table and then the people will decide which is better, which is worse. That's just
yeah.
me.
I don't like those panels. I call it the struggle party. You have an issue, I have an issue, then we just became best friends. Nah, let's
Right.
talk about it. Because my thing is, at the end of the day, I hear so many guys talking about these issues between the women. I probably can't speak to it too much because I'm married, but my thing is
Yeah.
this: when it boils down to it, just stop dealing with the women and just get money. That's the main thing. I mean, that's what I did when I was single and I didn't have a wife. I
Mm,
just locked down, like literally had three jobs. I was, two jobs that were pretty up much damn near full time. And it was like I said, it was one time my wife, she actually had a illness to where she couldn't work,
mm,
had came down and got sick. I actually made her stop working for a whole year. Her whole family was, kind of looking at me like, "How are you able to pay the bills and do?" I'm like, "I'm a man. That's what that's what I'm supposed to do."
yeah.
To the extent to where if I if I can do it, I can let my wife just I. To be honest, man, I'm working at a job to make less money to spend a little more time with my kids being at home versus being over the road. Like
Mm,
driving trucks, like I make good money over the road, but the thing is, I'm losing time with my kids, and I basically want to instruct some type of discipline, but also do like I did with my older son, get them to see me always working, showing because like my older son, we had our talks, and he say basically, you never taught me pretty much in a sense like an instruction manual on how to be a man. I seen it
mm,
by action. I seen how you did with my mom and stuff like that because this is my stepson actually. I have two
mm.
step kids. So
Okay.
my stepson basically he's seen how I come home, talk with them, deal with their mom, make sure everything's straight, then go to work, all that stuff. Then when I had my two twins, same approach. I came home, dealt with the oldest, the youngest, my wife, make sure everybody's good, get everything handled. You need something for school, you need this and that. We talked about it, we got it done at the end of the day. Like I said, when it came down to my wife, the whole biggest thing I knew the whole common denominator, a woman could cook and all that stuff, that wasn't a main issue for me because if a woman couldn't cook, I know how to cook. The first time ever I made jambalaya for my wife, she thought I ordered it,
Mm,
you know, and it was so good to the extent like I was like, "What? You be messing with dudes don't know how to cook?" I'm like, "How do dudes surviving without a woman? Like most dudes need a woman for cooking. I don't need a woman to cook for me. I cook for myself. I cook excellent food. Like I post uh little shorts on my YouTube about me cooking lobster, lamb chop, um salmon, putting on the grill, asparagus, stuff like that. And I mostly eat vegetables with every meal. Like
mm,
most dudes, you gotta have a balanced meal when eating like that. Even when I eat at restaurants or eat out, like I try to stay away from the fast food. Every now and then I grab them, but I mostly like restaurants to actually prepare the food versus, just going in there and slapping some frozen meat on the grill and throw it to you. I just like now before I was on the with y'all guys, I went to a Mexican restaurant and had me a burrito. Like how easy as that kept, and it's some simple. Got little beans and rice in there, stuff like that, avocado. But to the extent I'm not scarfing out a burger every single day.
No, I
It's a
get it.
balance in everything.
Yeah, I cook for myself as well. Like it's just good to be able to process your own food because you know what's in it. You
Yeah,
know, because in the kitchens, could be pretty nasty if you know anything about like restaurants and kitchens, and sometimes they drop stuff on the floor. you know Sometimes it's not good to have like the limes and lemon in your water because a lot of times those limes and lemons rolled on the floor and all they do is cut them up and put it in your drink. But people don't know these things like that. Certain days you buy fish or go to the restaurant and order fish. A lot of times it's leftover fish that's been in there for 3 4 days, and usually when it's like a fish special, it's usually fish that's about to rot, so that's why it's on a special. But you as a Patreon, you're going in there thinking like, oh, the lobster's on sale, or they have a special on whatever meat that they're serving, but most likely that meat's about to spoil. That's why it's on special, in the restaurant. But there's little things like that. So yeah, cooking for yourself, you kind of get to avoid all that type of stuff,
yeah,
you know. But yeah, so this thing you said perfect timing is
yeah. I'll drop his link in the chat.
yeah. If you can drop that link, I just pop in because I'm like I said, I'm just one of these days, like just today, like I happen to be in the studio. I'm actually supposed to be doing music, but then one conversation led to another, so I'm here now. So I might in the meantime make some cauliflower shrimp pizza. So I'll be trying to get in the kitchen too.
Yeah,
And some wings. I got an air fryer. Man, I love the thing. Air fryer is the best thing in the world. But yeah, in the midst of it, I'll just listen. I'll just tap in and see what everybody's doing. That's the
yeah.
link right there.
Yeah, that's the link right there.
Okay, click on that.
Yeah, but you get a sense, man, when you're dealing with a lot of guys, you get the sense in this space. Because I mean, if you writer or a producer, I mean, just listening to this space, you can write a whole bunch of songs. Man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, like I make music, and lyrics sometimes, but mostly on the music production end of things. And it's just good to be tapped into what's going on, in terms of what people are thinking. And I do videos and photos mostly with models, some real estate in terms of videos, because a lot of people want their properties to be like, they want to walk around where you film like every inch of their property so they can put it online. And instead of people coming for in-person, in-house visit, because COVID,
Yeah,
especially right now, you can just go online and just check out the entire house, uh,
yeah, the virtual view,
like
the
a yeah,
virtual
like
views.
kind of like a virtual view. It just
Yeah,
the way technology is moving, it makes sense to be on this end of things because it's kind of like you can work with real estate people, professional people, OnlyFans models, mainstream models. I mean, literally, the music, you can do the video, the music to the video, and the picture, the cover, front art. And this is like stuff that it's like a business that I do in addition to other stuff. So I just happen to be in the studio. I actually got this new mic. I don't know how it sounds. I'm kind of testing it out, but it's the Shure what is it called, S7MB, whatever it's called. It's the one everybody got, that everybody use. But what makes this mic good, if you have a preamp, like a really good preamp, it sounds really really good. And I use the same preamp I record vocals with on this mic, so that's what gives it its sound. Like, you can add like effects. Like I can do anything. I can put auto tune on my voice. I'm literally in the studio right now as I'm talking to you guys. Um, it's dope. I can put like effects on it. I don't know if you hear that. Put reverb or whatever, you know, but yeah, I'll pop over there and see what's going on. You know, see what's going on.
Ghostbusters with all female cast, or are we talking
Correct.
about something
Correct.
else?